the Almighty Pokémon Master. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 501 Extraordinary Linfan. Bang. Mega Piscadra was lying in the pit, with wounds all over his body, looking very embarrassed. A flash of light passed by, and he withdrew from the super evolution state. Giant Beedrill missile needle. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Densely packed missile needles shot towards Piscadra, and a burst of explosions was heard. Piscadra was already covered by a large cloud of dust. A few seconds later, Piscadra was lying in the pit, unconscious and motionless. Liu Ruhan took Piscadra away with a serious expression, and then took out a Pokeball and threw it out. A loud dragon roar sounded, and the three-headed dragon appeared on the scene, exuding a strong and violent aura. Three-headed dragon, use all your strength. Other three-headed dragon's eyes turned red instantly, and the aura on his body instantly increased a lot, infinitely close to the first level of the king. Roar hiss. The two Pokémon started fighting on the field. This time, the three-headed dragon was not as weak as Piscadra. The three-headed dragon with three heads was both offensive and defensive. It repelled Beedrill's multiple attacks and even had a slight upper hand. But Liu Ruhan's face did not show any sign of relief, but rather became more solemn. The reason was that Beedrill had not yet undergone super evolution and was only slightly at a disadvantage when fighting against the three-headed dragon that could burst out with all its strength. He absolutely did not believe that Linfan on the opposite side did not have a super evolution stone, and this was also impossible. Roar. One of the three-headed dragon's head sprayed flames, hitting Beedrill and repelling it. There was also a small wound on his body, which was left by the fierce battle with Beedrill just now. Beedrill super evolution. Hiss. A colorful evolutionary light flashed, and a brand new Pokémon appeared on the field, which was a Super Beedrill. After the super evolution, Beedrill's strength was raised from the peak of the Quasi-King to the first level of the king, very close to the middle stage of the king. It was not inferior to the three-headed dragon in a head-on confrontation. Roar. The three-headed dragon swooped down like a dragon god, smashing towards a super giant hornet. The giant hornet was not afraid at all, and used a billion impact to meet it. Bang. The two slammed into each other, stalemated for a few seconds, and pushed towards the three-headed dragon. Boom. The two banged, and fell into the ground together. Ouch. Lightning, fire, and ice attacks shot out from the three heads of the three-headed dragon, aiming directly at the giant hornet. The giant hornet's double guns lit up faintly, slashed down horizontally, splitting the three attacks, and then slashed at the three-headed dragon. Even a strong three-headed dragon was hit by these two guns, and couldn't raise its head. Whoosh. The supergiant hornet flew into the sky, and pointed its double guns at the three-headed dragon in the pit. Whoosh. Missile needles shot into it. Ouch. The roar of the three-headed dragon came from inside. The giant hornet turned on the spot, and rushed forward again. Boom boom boom. Hiss. Beer in the smoke and dust. There were bursts of noise. Whoosh. The three-headed dragon just flew out of the smoke and dust, and a powerful destructive death light followed it. Boom. The three-headed dragon was like a kite with a broken string, shaking in the air for a few times, and fell to the ground with a bang. Before it could recover, the giant hornet's killer move came again. Bang. The three-headed dragon was blown away again, and fell to the ground. Yui Han lost. In the audience, Zhang Xingyun said lightly. The giant hornet on the field obviously had not used its full strength, and the three-headed dragon could no longer bear it. Another thing is that Zhang Xingyun felt a kind of energy that was not released from Linfan, and the aura he revealed was also different from that of ordinary people. He guessed in his heart that Linfan was probably a person with special abilities. Nangang Yeo and the others beside him nodded in agreement. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the defeat of the three-headed dragon was a matter of time. Boom. 5 minutes later, the three-headed dragon fell to the ground under the destructive death light of the supergiant bee. This. Liu Ruhan's face was pale, and his eyes were full of disbelief. I lost again. Liu Ruhan murmured, and his heart was hit hard. He lost again. He also worked hard. Since losing to Zhang Xingyun last time, he did not dare to slack off every day. He trained with the three-headed dragon and other elves, and would not be ashamed to ask questions when he encountered problems he did not understand. But he still lost. At this moment, he was very confused. Am I behind? Liu Ruhan couldn't help asking himself. He was defeated by Zhang Xingyun, Lang Bing and now Lin Fan, and he was a little unconfident. I lost. I failed everyone's expectations. When he returned to the audience, Liu Ruhan blamed himself. Everyone present comforted him. It's good that you tried your best. You don't have to blame yourself. If we run into it, everyone except Nangang and Xingyun will attack it. Yes, this giant hornet is too strong. I feel it's stronger than the land shark. Don't mind it too much. Victory and defeat are common in the military. Liu Ruhan smiled bitterly, came to Zhang Xingyun, and said, Xingyun, what do you think of this giant hornet? I'll sit and watch. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile, motioning Liu Ruhan to sit down. He is very strong. I just felt a kind of energy that is not released from him. He is probably a person with special abilities. After Liu Ruhan sat down, Zhang Xingyun told him what he had just discovered. What? A person with special abilities? Are you feeling wrong? Liu Ruhan opened his eyes wide and said in disbelief. It's probably correct. Zhang Xingyun said with certainty. During the battle just now, although the aura he exuded was very obscure, I still sensed it. In that case, didn't he defeat me without using his full strength in the battle with me just now? Yes, you can say that. Zhang Xingyun nodded. Wow, I feel so miserable. I always run into people with your abilities these few times. Can I get a normal person? Liu Ruhan smiled bitterly, feeling that the world was full of malice towards him. Yayo, if you fight him, you have to be careful. From the aura he exudes, I guess his ability is the power of Changpan. Okay. Nangang Yao smiled sweetly and agreed. Hey, how did you feel it? Why didn't we notice it? Zimeng asked, and several people with abilities present looked over. Maybe my ability is special, you see. Zhang Xingyun stretched out a hand, and a ball of rich life energy emanated from his palm, and the aura emanated was exactly the aura of the power of Changpan. Wow, isn't your ability a superpower? How come it's the power of Changpan? I can't explain it clearly. It was like this when I awakened my ability. If only you could share your ability with me. If I were also a person with abilities, I wouldn't have lost so badly these times. Liu Ruhan said longingly. That, I can't help. Zhang Xingyun laughed and shook his head. Chapter 502 Long Zirao's brother. It can be said that superpowers are innate. If you are born with them, you have them. If you don't have them, you don't have them. As for himself, it can only be said to be an accident. To be honest, Zhang Xingyun didn't know how his superpowers came from. Was it because he had them and then awakened, or was it because of the system? He didn't know these. Let's go. Today's exchange and learning is over. Let's go back first. Pei Wenbin came over and said to everyone. Everyone realized that it was already past 6 o'clock in the afternoon. How about this? You know where your accommodation is. You can move freely. Go wherever you want and feel the Imperial Capital University. If you don't want to go shopping, you can also go back to the dormitory to rest. If you have anything, you can contact me on the phone. Okay, do you have any questions? Pei Wenbin looked at everyone and asked. Everyone shook their heads, indicating that it was no problem. Then they dispersed in pairs and moved freely. It was a rare opportunity to come to the Imperial Capital University. Everyone was very excited and wanted to take a good look at the Imperial Capital University. When Zhang Xingyun and his friends walked out of the battle hall, they ran into Long Yun. Where are you going? Hey, sister, you are here too. Why didn't I see you when I went over there just now? Long Yun said, and then he saw Long Zirao behind the crowd. Sister? Is Zirao your brother? Zimeng asked, holding Long Zirao's hand. Yes, he is my brother. I knew it. You all have the surname Long. I was going to ask you. Long Zirao smiled and said, why don't we go eat together? I'm hungry now. Okay, let's go to Yipin restaurant. The food there is very good. Let's go. Long Yun greeted enthusiastically. Everyone had no objection So they followed Long Yun to Yipin restaurant, asked for a large private room, ordered a table full of delicious food, and ate together. "Hey sister, why didn't I see you when I went to your place?" Long Yun asked Long Zhao during the meal. "I should have gone to the bathroom at that time. I wanted to find you, but you came on stage." Long Zhao said softly, picking up a piece of meat and putting it on Long Yun's plate. "Let me introduce you. These three are my roommates, Meng Meng, Yao Yao, and Zhao." Long Zhao pointed at Nangang Yao and the other two and introduced them. "Hello, handsome guy." Meng Meng waved her hand and said with a smile. Long Yun responded with a smile. Then Long Zhao introduced Zhang Xingyun and the other three. They exchanged pleasantries again. As they chatted, Long Yun and Zhang Xingyun talked about elf cultivation. "Excuse me, why can your Nidoking evolve again? I checked a lot of information, and Nidoking doesn't have this form. I can't say for sure. I can only say it's a bond." "Bond?" "Yes, bond. Actually, I can't explain it either. Elves have another name called Pokémon. I think this is also their magic. They are like an unknown treasure, waiting for us to discover. Maybe I'm a lucky person and I discovered it earlier." Haha, that makes sense. I'm limited. Long Yun laughed and agreed with his point of view. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 kinds of dishes, the young people gradually started to talk, and they were no longer as unfamiliar as at the beginning. They also exchanged some of their experiences in training elves and their thoughts on training elves. After a brief chat, Lan Yuchen and others also changed their impression of Long Yun. During the chat, Long Yun was not as cold as imagined, but he was just more direct in his words. "Haha, if there is a chance, let's have a discussion again. Qua-seeking level 1 is also fine," Long Yun said to Zhang Xingyun and others with a smile. Zhang Xingyun and others all agreed and said they would. "By the way, there will be a dragon festival in the Dragon Valley in a few days. If you have a dragon elf, you can go there. It will be very beneficial to your elf." During the chat, Long Yun mentioned the dragon festival. "I have already told them about this," Long Zhao said on the side. "Haha, it's okay, it's okay. You guys eat. I'm going to the toilet." Long Yun smiled, and when he saw that everyone had almost finished eating, he picked up his phone and went out. After a while, Long Yun came back. "Are you full? Do you want to order more?" Everyone said they were full and stood up. Zhang Xingyun wanted to pay the bill, but Long Yun had already said he would pay, so he gave up. After eating, everyone, led by Long Yun, a college student from the Imperial Capital, had a good tour around the Imperial Capital School. The teacher during the day took them to some classrooms, computer rooms, etc., all inside the school. After sending everyone to the dormitory, Long Yun said goodbye and left. "Hey, this Long Yun is a bit interesting. He's not as cold and arrogant as imagined," Lan Yuchen said after returning to the dormitory. Tonight's experience was also very pleasant, and it was also considered a friendship. It may be because of Long Zhao and Xingyun. If it was just the two of us, he probably wouldn't make friends with us. The other students are like that. Qian Xiaoming shrugged. "That's right. Have you cultivated dragon type elves? If so, let's go and have a look together in a couple of days." At this time, Zhang Xingyun said on the side. "Forget it. I'm just going there to have a look. I don't plan to go." Lan Yuchen shook his head. He didn't cultivate dragon type elves, so there was no point in going there. "I won't go either. I'll just go to see the excitement. I'll go to other attractions in the Imperial Capital," Qian Xiaoming also said, indicating that he wouldn't go either. He also didn't cultivate dragon type elves. "What about you, Chenjin?" "I'm going. I have cultivated an ultrasonic lava, and it's almost evolved," Pei Chenjin said lightly. Zhang Xingyun hummed, chatted for a while, and then went to bed to rest. The 4 of them sat cross-legged on the bed, practicing and meditating. Lan Yuchen and Qian Xiaoming also practiced together, changing their previous lazy appearance. The night passed quickly without a word. When it was still light, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes, got out of bed, and went to the bathroom to wash up. Pei Chenjin and the others also got up one after another, and went to the bathroom to wash up. "Hey, it's still early. Why don't you two sleep a little longer?" Zhang Xingyun said in surprise, looking at Lan Yuchen and the others. Normally, they would not get up at this time, so what happened today, that they became so diligent? I can't help it. I was stimulated by you geniuses. I have to change. Lan Yachan replied, and continued to wash up. Very good, then you two keep it up. Chapter 503 Chen Yu. At the beginning of the school year, Lan Yachan and Zhang Xingyun would get up early. When they were washing up in the morning, they could still be seen. But after a while, they became lazy. Zhang Xingyun hadn't seen them get up at this time for a while. In this regard, Zhang Xingyun didn't say anything. This is also a common problem for some college students. They are easy to relax. The pressure and control in the past few years of high school were heavier. When they arrived at university, no one cared about them. They gradually let themselves go. Zhang Xingyun saw this a lot. Not only now, but also in the previous life. When I was in college, those roommates were similar, gradually becoming lazy. Every year, some people are expelled from the Elf University in China because of this. Lan Yachan and Zhang Xingyun naturally didn't have to fall to this point. Their daily training was still done very well. It was just that some trivial time was not used for training. The four of them quickly washed up and returned to the room. Nangang may appear in today's battle. Xingyun, are you worried? Lan Yachan said with a smile. Winning and losing in Pokémon battles is common for trainers. Besides, she is not so fragile. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and laughed. The four chatted for a while, and then Zhang Xingyun walked out of the room and came to the infirmary in the Imperial Capital University. Nidoking and Blastoise were sent here yesterday for treatment. Your Pokémon has recovered. Here are their checkup sheets. They are two very healthy Pokémon. A nurse handed over 2 Pokéballs and a few checkup sheets. Zhang Xingyun thanked her and left with Nidoking and Blastoise. When he returned to the dormitory, he happened to run into Pei Wenbin talking about something. In the morning, you can move freely, go around the Imperial Capital University, or audit classes. In the afternoon, just go to where we were yesterday. Hey, you're back. What did you do? To the infirmary. Zhang Xingyun replied. Well, did you hear what I said just now? Yes. That's good. Pei Wenbin nodded, said a few more words, and then walked to another dormitory. Hey guys, what are your plans for this morning? After Pei Wenbin left, Lan Yachan said excitedly. I'm going to study. Studying makes me happy. Zhang Xingyun joked. No way, no way. Then tell me, what are you going to study? Zhang Xingyun smiled and said nothing. The phone beeped, and Nangang Yao sent a message on WeChat. After Zhang Xingyun read it, he put away his phone and said a few words to the three of them, then left the dormitory and came to the school cafeteria. Following the message sent by Nangang Yao, he came to the door of a private room, opened the door, and walked in. Hi, Xingyun, how are you these days? As soon as he entered, he heard a familiar voice. Fine. Zhang Xingyun replied with a smile and came to the seat and sat down. In the private room, in addition to Nangang Yao, there was also an old acquaintance of Thiz Chen Yu. You are great, you even defeated Long Yun, the first freshman of our Imperial Capital University. Or thumbs up for you. Chen Yu gave a thumbs up and praised. I wanted to go see you yesterday, but our instructor called me to the research institute. He said that there was an exchange group from Magic City University coming to exchange and study, so he was busy there. Class monitor, didn't you choose the battle department? No. Chen Yu shook his head and continued. My family didn't agree, so they helped me choose a research major. In addition, I also like this, so I didn't choose a battle major. Oh, I thought so. Zhang Xingyun suddenly realized. I'm not like you two. You are a trainer with explosive talent. Even if you go to Magic City University, you can still be a big shot. I asked them about you, but I didn't expect you to be the top freshman in your Magic City University. Speaking of this makes me angry. You didn't know to give way to me at the beginning. Really? Nangang Yao thought of the freshman competition that day and complained. Okay, next time. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile, picking up a steamed bun and putting it on the bowl in front of Nangang Yao. Chen Yu saw this scene and understood something and smiled slightly. The three of them chatted again, talking about what they had seen and heard since they came to the university, and also talked about their senior year in Changning. When we go back to Changling for the new year, we have to get together. I miss them a lot. Zhang Xingyun smiled with a nostalgic look on his face. Okay, yayo. Remember to come too. I didn't see you when we got together that time. You have to come this time. Okay. Nangang Yeo smiled and agreed. After eating, Chen Yu took the initiative to pay the bill. Zhang Xingyun wanted to pay the bill, but was rejected by her. She said that she was the host, so it was unreasonable for him to treat her. When she went to the Magic City, she would let him treat her. Zhang Xingyun no longer insisted and let her pay the bill. I'm sorry, I still have things to do at the research institute. You stay a few more days. When I'm free, I'll go shopping with you too. Chen Yu apologized. It's okay, you go first. Okay, then I'll leave first. Bye. Bye. The two waved and said goodbye to Chen Yu. The monitor is still as enthusiastic as ever. Zhang Xingyun sighed as he watched Chen Yu's back go away. Nangang Yeo also nodded in agreement, and then the two of them strolled on the campus road like ordinary lovers. The flowers and plants on both sides of the road exuded a fragrance that was very pleasant to the eye. Students walked by one after another on the road, dressed appropriately, with youthful vitality on their faces. There were 3 or 2 good friends, playing with each other. There were a few cheers and fighting sounds from afar. It was the students in the school who were competing with each other. There was a lively and peaceful state everywhere. Hey, why are the boss and the others there? Zhang Xingyun looked up and saw the figures of Lan Yuchen and others in the distance. Lan Yuchen was still standing on the field, directing Lucario to fight with the Pokémon on the opposite side. Let's go over and take a look. The two of them came over. On the field, a Lucario and a Windy Dog were fighting. Lucario wielded a bone stick with great vigor. Despite the unfavorable attributes, he suppressed the opposite Arcanine. What's going on, fourth brother? Why did the eldest brother fight with him? Zhang Xingyun walked to Qin Xiuming's side and asked. Nothing, we just passed by here, and the eldest brother got itchy hands, and came on the field. There's a bet, a piece of top quality fighting energy crystal. As he spoke, cheers rang out from the crowd. Lucario successfully defeated Arcanine under the adverse attributes, which attracted cheers from the crowd. Hey, the fighting crystal is in hand. Hey, you're here too, second brother. Chapter 504 Dispute. Lan Yuchen turned around and saw Zhang Xingyun. He said something, looking very happy. Great. I heard it's a fighting energy crystal. Just so. Lan Yuchen chuckled and walked to the other side to get his trophy. Zhang Xingyun and his friends were waiting there, but there was a noise coming from Lan Yuchen's side, which made them frown. Why do you want to play another match? Why didn't you tell me before? Lan Yuchen shouted loudly. His tone was very angry. Zhang Xingyun and his friends also realized that something was wrong and walked forward. What do you mean? If that's the case, why didn't you make it clear before? Now that I've won, you want to play another match? Can't you afford to lose? Zhang Xingyun walked forward and saw Lan Yuchen and 3 young men of the same age shouting loudly. What's going on? Zhang Xingyun said forward. They want to play another match, and they didn't tell me clearly before the match. Lan Yuchen said angrily. My friend, this is very honest. It's won and it's won. You have to accept the loss if you are willing to bet. There is no need to do this. Zhang Xingyun said solemnly. We are not playing tricks. Look at what is written on the sign. The young man with a thin face, shining eyes and dyed yellow hair pointed to the sign inserted in the corner. The sign said that the winner can get the best fighting energy crystal. The words were large. There were 3 small words need to play extra games in the lower right corner. The font was the same as the card, both red. If you don't look carefully, you really can't see it. Right, it's written in black and white on our card, but you didn't look carefully. Considering that you really won, we can only give you a high quality energy crystal. The thin young man said with a smile. Huh. Zhang Xingyun frowned, as if it seemed that there was nothing wrong with them doing this. Although it was a bit immoral, it was also in line with the rules. You don't understand the rules, who can you blame? Looking at these complacent people in front of him, Zhang Xingyun also felt very unhappy. Well, what are the rules of your extra game? Tell me. Zhang Xingyun looked at the few people and said. It's simple. Just add another game, and I will play. Of course, we are not without compensation. If you win, the self egg will be given to you. The tall and thin young man stood up and said proudly, taking out a green and white elf from his bag. There was also a nameplate on the incubator with the words Langteng Group written on it. Huh? Why isn't he? Zhang Xingyun pointed at the man who had originally played against Lan Yuchen. This is an extra game, so the rules will naturally be different. You can also change people. Okay, you said, let me play Yuchen's game. Okay, then you can play. At this time, Lan Yuchen also laughed. Wait. The tall and thin young man shouted. What? Do you have any other questions? Yes, I have raised my stakes. This elf egg is the one I bought from Langteng Group. It is also of excellent quality and worth a lot of money. You see, it has not been opened yet. You have to raise your stakes too. One high-grade energy crystal is not enough. Zhang Xingyun immediately opened the system and checked it a few times. He found that the elf of this elf egg was a wood gecko, which had a high quality and a deep green quality. Then he took out a pile of black and purple soil and a blue water droplet that was emitting water vapor from the space. Is this enough? Enough. Definitely enough. Looking at what Zhang Xingyun took out, greed flashed in the eyes of the tall and thin young man and his companion, but then he thought of something and hesitated, weighing the pros and cons in his heart. What? Still have questions? If you don't want it, hand over that piece of superb energy crystal. Lan Yuchen urged. This? The tall and thin young man thought about it, and his companion next to him poked him, and gave him a look, then gritted his teeth and agreed. Then the two of them came on the field, stood in position, picked up the elves in their hands, and threw them out together. Raw a steel snake larger than its peers, and covered with scars appeared on the field. From the fluctuations of its aura, it was a late-stage Qua-seeking elf. Nidoking also appeared on the field. Huh, I was scared to death. I thought it was just a late-stage Qua-seeking elf. It scared itself. The tall and thin young man breathed a sigh of relief. His name is Huang Tao, a sophomore at Imperial Capital University. He often held such gambling competitions on campus. The difference is that he is very good at judging people and responding flexibly, so nothing has happened. Nidoking has not evolved. After my steel snake evolves, it will have the strength of the peak of the late stage Qua-seeking. This time it is a sure win. When Huang Tao thought of the things Zhang Xingyun took out, his heart was hot, and he said he had made a fortune in his heart, and it was not in vain that he took out this elf egg. Nidoking, teach it a lesson. Zhang Xingyun said coldly. Nido hahaha, lesson? I'll teach you. Steelix Super Evolution. Roar a flash of evolutionary light passed by, and Super Steelix appeared on the field. Steelix, rocket headbutt charge. Raw Super Steelix glowed with a faint light, like a falling meteor. Nidoking's momentum changed, and a strong pressure rose from his body. With the blessing of the spirit attaching technique, his strength was raised to the peak of the late Qua-seeking, and his aura was more condensed than that of Steelix. Boom! Nidoking raised his hands and directly took the rocket headbutt from Steelix. Nidoking flipped on the ground, and Steelix's huge body fell to the ground with a bang, splashing dust all over the ground. What the hell is this? Huang Tao was dumbfounded by the scene in front of him, and the smile on his face froze. Boom! Nidoking stepped on the ground, and waves on the ground hit Steelix, directly blowing the huge thing away. Nidoking disappeared from the spot, and the next second he appeared on top of Steelix, clasping his fists and smashing them, and the two fell to the ground together. Boom! The sound of the smash attracted the attention of passers-by, and they all came over to see what was going on. A person with special abilities? What the hell did I meet? Seeing that Nidoking could teleport, and that Zhang Xingyun exuded an inexplicable aura, Huang Tao also understood that Zhang Xingyun was a person with special abilities. Isn't that Huang Tao's White Horse Club? It seems like they have hit a wall. Several students who were watching said happily. He's going to have a hard time now. Look at his expression, he's just stunned. Hey, isn't that the student from the Magic City who fought against our freshman champion yesterday? Is Huang Tao crazy? Dare to challenge such a big guy? Several students who were watching gloated. Chapter 505, Wood Gecko. Not far from the battlefield, on a high platform, Pei Wenbin and Tang Wengshan were watching the scene on the battlefield. How could your school allow such a situation to happen? Pei Wenbin questioned, expressing his incomprehension of the scene in front of him. It's too small, isn't it? Tang Wenxian said with a smile in response to Pei Wenbin's question. Well, you said I have a small mind. This is a problem of your inadequate management. Why am I the only one with a small mind? Then do you think we didn't find this problem? The school has already found it, but they can barely comply with the rules, so we don't pay attention to it. After all, no matter how they make trouble here, there will be no danger to their lives. Let them suffer a loss, maybe they will learn a lesson. If they go out into society in the future, it's hard to say, so we didn't stop them from doing this. To tell you the truth, there are several similar things on campus. Tang Wenxian replied indifferently, took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, picked up one and started smoking, puffing out smoke. Don't you think it will affect the reputation of the school? Do you think it will? Will a university of our size regress because of this? Times have changed. If it was the old society, it would be understandable, but in this era, it's not a bad thing to let them suffer. This can also be said to be a question of strength. Like your classmate, isn't he earning more now? Strength is respected in the wild, and it may not be the same on campus. Pei Wenbin didn't say anything else. They squatted down and smoked cigarettes. On the field, the Steelix fighting against Nidoking was blown away again. Its tail was caught by Nidoking and swung violently, and its whole body was embedded in the ground. A series of pale yellow energy spread from the ground and erupted at the location of the Steelix. Boom after a roar, the Steelix in the pit was revealed. It had exited the super evolution state and was motionless in the pit, having lost consciousness. Amazing. The Quasi-King level Steelix lost his ability to fight without any resistance. He is indeed a big boss. Yeah, that big boss hasn't used his full strength yet. Don't forget that his Nidoking has another state. Now it is the normal state. With the same strength, he beat Steelix like this. Awesome. The crowd was discussing. Huang Tao heard it and cried out that he had miscalculated. He didn't investigate the origins of their group in advance. He actually fought with a king level trainer. His loss was not unfair. Do you want to fight again? 3-3. Or 6-6? Or do you have other rules? Seeing Huang Tao's face change, Zhang Xingyun said coldly. No, I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Huang Tao replied immediately without hesitation. From Nidoking's performance, he knew that he had no chance of winning. Boss. His partner poked him from behind, wanting to say something. Fool, stop talking. We have hit a wall. It's the kind that can't be any harder. We have to admit defeat when it's time. Huang Tao cursed at the people behind him, then put on a smile, and came to Zhang Xingyun with a fighting energy crystal and an incubation device. Sorry, this is a misunderstanding. I admit defeat. This is your trophy. His attitude was completely different from before, and he seemed very sincere. And these two high-level energy crystals, just consider them as my apology. Huang Tao also took out 2 more energy crystals from the space and handed them over. You weren't like that just now. Where's that arrogant? Lan Yuchen mocked. Misunderstanding. Huang Tao laughed dryly a few times and replied repeatedly. Okay, we will accept the things. You can take care of yourself. Seeing him like this, Zhang Xingyun didn't want to say anything. There was no point in saying anything, so he turned to Lan Yuchen and said, Yuchen, give me the self egg, and I'll give you all these. No problem. Lan Yuchen grinned and went forward to collect all the things. Be honest next time, buddy. Like this time, we lost both the wife and the army. Let's go. It's time for lunch. Zhang Xingyun said, took the elf hatching device handed by Lan Yuchen, and walked off the field. Remember to keep your eyes open next time. We admit it this time. Looking at the people going away, Huang Tao said in a deep voice. Yes. The people behind responded in unison. Haha, this time thanks to you. I want to laugh when I think of the expressions of those grandsons. In the dining hall, in a private room, Lan Yuchen said happily. Hey, why didn't you say a few more words just now and ridicule them? It's unnecessary and meaningless. Zhang Xingyun said slowly, looking at the elf hatching device in his hand. Do you know what kind of elf this is? Lan Yuchen asked. It's a wood gecko. Just at this time, the dishes were served. Zhang Xingyun put away the Pokémon hatching device and started eating. The information of the wood gecko was already on the system interface. Name, wood gecko, male, attribute, grass characteristics, lush qualification, deep blue skills, slap, stare, super absorption, mysterious power, repaying gratitude in general. This wood gecko is very good. It has mastered many skills when it was still in the egg. It just so happened that there was no grass Pokémon in his team, and this wood gecko was more in line with his mind, so he planned to cultivate it. As a Pokémon from the three major families, the wood gecko is not bad in that aspect. After lunch, Zhang Xingyun returned to the dormitory, opened the hatching device, and poured in the hatching liquid he had prepared. Gurgle as the hatching liquid was poured, a sound came from the device. Moistened by the hatching liquid, the Pokémon egg lighted up slightly. Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged on the side, mobilized the energy in his body, and transferred it over, so that the Pokémon egg was in the misty energy ball. Little guy, absorb more, it will be good for you. Zhang Xingyun said in a gentle voice. What he is doing now is to improve its qualifications as much as possible, so that its starting point is higher and its potential is greater. Having cultivated so many elves, Zhang Xingyun is also an experienced breeder. In addition, there is also the assistance of the system, so it is natural to cultivate it in the best way. The elf egg shook slightly, as if responding to him. Zhang Xingyun smiled, and sat aside to regulate his breathing. He didn't know whether he would be needed to play in the afternoon. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Pei Wenbin came outside the house. After gathering everyone, he led everyone to the battle site yesterday. After a while, Long Yun and others also came. Long Yun also came forward to greet Zhang Xingyun and others, not as cold and unfamiliar as yesterday. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 506 Nangang Yao vs Ruan Xiao. After exchanging a few pleasantries, the few returned to their respective teams. Xinju, it's your turn later. Let's have a good start today. Pei Wenbin directly appointed the general. I'll try my best. Gu Xinju stood up, adjusted his glasses, and said softly, what do you mean by trying your best? I must show the momentum of our Magic City University. Leave it to me. Yes, that's right. Pei Wenbin nodded with satisfaction. Then Yankee, you will go on stage later, and you must defeat him. Yes. A heroic looking girl stood up, and responded in a strong tone. But, with momentum, much better than someone's student. Tang Wengshan smiled and squeezed Pei Wenbin by the way. Just read my ID number. Gu Xinju and Yankee stood on the battlefield and started fighting. This time, the two chose the 6 vs 6 battle mode. At the beginning of the battle, the two were in a stalemate. Because the Pokémon they sent out were all of the same type of Pokémon, both were Venusaur, and their strengths were also very similar. The two sides fought back and forth for more than 20 minutes, and Gu Xinju's Bulbasaur won, giving him a slight advantage. Gu Xinju's strength is also very strong. Although he was defeated by Nangang Yao in the quarterfinals of the freshman competition, it does not mean that he is weak. In the following battles, Gu Xinju played steadily, and finally only one exploding tortoise was left, and he won the next round, achieving the good start required by Pei Wenbin. Hahaha, what's the use of momentum? You still need strength, don't you think so? I'll give you this round first. Hahaha. Xiao, you play this round. Tang Wengshan looked at Ruan Xiao and said. Ruan Xiao nodded, stood up, and walked onto the battlefield. Nangang, you play this round. Okay, Teacher Pei. Nangang Yao responded, and with the cheers of the crowd, she also walked onto the battle stage. After the two came on stage, the two teachers started to gamble again, and the audience also became lively, applauding louder than the previous game. Both of them are girls with good looks and strength, so they are naturally more popular. In a clamor, the two sent out their respective elves. Nangang Yao sent out her Dragonite, and the elf sent out by Ruan Xiao on the opposite side was Sylph. Wow, how can we fight this? Half of the Dragonite has been killed. Yao's luck is too bad. She actually sent out a Dragonite that is restrained by the fairy elves. Looking at the two elves on the field, Zimeng Meng murmured. Fairy type is extremely restrained against dragon type elves. In addition to being immune to the damage of dragon type skills, it also causes great damage to dragon type elves. Facing the fairy elves, the situation is very unfavorable for Dragonite. Bang bang bang, the two elves fought on the field. After a while, as expected, Dragonite was defeated. The first match ended with the victory of the fairy elves. Nangang Yao's second elf was the Kixie Bluebird, while Ruan Xiao on the opposite side took back her fairy elf and sent out a chief swan. Kixie Bluebird, Super Evolution. Chiu Nangang Yao took out the keystone and activated the Super Evolution. A flash of light passed, and the Kixie Bluebird Super Evolution was completed. After the Super Evolution, the Kixie Bluebird's strength reached the late stage of the Quasi King, close to the peak level. Compared with the Chief Swan in the late stage of the Quasi King, it was a little stronger in strength. Chiu Li, the two beautiful flying elves had a fierce air battle in the sky. Skills flew, storms rose, and roars continued. Whoosh, Kixie Bluebird and the Chief Swan flew out of the smoke and dust one after another. Puff puff puff, several sounds of breaking through the air sounded, and more than a dozen air blades slashed at the Kixie Bluebird above. Bang bang bang, the attack was cleverly avoided by the Kixie Bluebird, and it hit the ground with a bang. Kaitanabata Bluebird turned around and attacked with a dragon wave, hitting the Chief Swan, but it was avoided. Chief Swan Freezing Ray. Tanabata Bluebird Dragon Fury. Boom, the two attacks collided in mid-air, and the field was filled with airwaves and smoke. Whoosh, a group of brilliant energy balls were launched into the sky, spreading out like fireworks and smashing down. This is the dragon type move Dragon Star Cluster. Li, the Chief Swan, let out a long cry, flapping its wings unsteadily, and gusts of wind appeared on the field. Whoosh whoosh, the gusts were wrapped in gravel and grass, and the Chief Swan was in the middle of it. Boom boom boom, the dragon stars in the sky fell, and there were explosions. Li, whoosh whoosh, the Chief Swan flew out from the center of the explosion, in the storm, and rushed towards Tanabata Bluebird. Chirp, Kixie Bluebird was not afraid at all, and the dragon energy on its body burst out, condensing into a huge dragon head phantom on its body, and rushed forward. Boom, chirp, Kixie Bluebird flew out of the smoke and dust, and its originally bright and clean feathers were now covered with dust. The Chief Swan's eyes were full of circles, and he lay on the ground, and had lost his ability to fight. The Chief Swan has lost his ability to fight. Kixie Bluebird has won. Please send the next Pokémon to fight within the specified time. The referee announced. Pa pa pa, thunderous applause rang out on the field, dedicated to the two Pokémons who fought brilliantly. Hygia Jenga floated on the field, with a treacherous smile on his face, and a pair of red eyes staring directly at Kixie Bluebird. His strength is also at the level of entering the late stage of the Quasi King. Nangang Yao pondered for a while, and continued to let Kixie Bluebird fight. Ruan Xiao immediately activated the Super Evolution, allowing Jenga to evolve into Super Jenga, and its strength was also raised to the peak of the late Quasi King. After 5 minutes of fighting, Kixie Bluebird was defeated, and hit by a giant shadow ball of Super Jenga, losing its fighting ability. Nangang Yao immediately sent in Windy Dog. Woo, as soon as Windy Dog appeared, it howled and blazing flames came out of its body, which was extremely majestic. Ruan Xiao did not replace Jenga, and continued to let it fight. Peng, the battle started. When Nangang Yao just tried to help Windy Dog, she was disturbed by a wave of energy, making her unable to help Windy Dog. Windy Dog, who was at the peak of the middle Quasi King, slowly fell behind Super Jenga, and occasionally counterattacked a few times. Peng hissed. The battle lasted for more than 20 minutes, and Jenga won. After 2 battles, Jenga consumed a lot of physical strength, and also withdrew from the Super Evolution state. Arcane loses its ability to fight. Jenga wins. Nangang Yao, please send out your Pokémon to fight within the specified time. The referee raised his hand and announced. Nangang Yao picked up the Pokéball, took back Arcane, took out a Pokémon, and threw it out. Yo, Desert Dragonfly appeared on the scene. Chapter 507, Lin Fan's Challenge. Desert Dragonfly and Jenga had a contest on the field. Hiss, yo yo yo. Jenga tried to confuse and interfere with Desert Dragonfly many times, but it didn't work. Desert Dragonfly always reacted in the first time, and then launched a counterattack. Seeing this, Ruin Xiao had no choice but to give up. Yo-Yo Desert Dragonfly attacked again, and a dragon god swooped down fiercely. Jenga penetrated into the ground and wandered on the ground to avoid the dragon god swooping of Desert Dragonfly. Bang! Desert Dragonfly hit the ground, and invisible ground-based energy radiated from it. His Jenga was forced out, facing the dragon claw of Desert Dragonfly. After being knocked away again, the gravel on the field flew again, and the gravel flickered with a faint light, filling the entire field. 5 minutes later, Jenga lost his ability to fight, and Desert Dragonfly won. Desert Dragonfly has a pretty good grasp of the ground aspect. Its methods of fighting enemies are probably based on the methods used by Bangalus that day, Lan Yuchen said in the audience. Looking at the moves used by Desert Dragonfly just now, he thought of the scene when Bangalus dealt with the giant Jenga that day. Indeed, it is somewhat similar to that day. Page-Engine nodded in agreement. I was saying, why does it look a bit familiar? After Ruin Xiao took back the Jenga, she sent out her fairy elf. After the referee's announcement, the two commanded the elves and fought on the field. Soon the result came out. Desert Dragonfly still won, defeating the fairy elf with its reverse attributes, but Desert Dragonfly itself was also severely injured by the fairy elf and was seriously injured. Nangang Yeo thought for a few times, then took Desert Dragonfly back into the elf ball and waited for Ruin Xiao to send out the elf. Ruin Xiao also released her other elf, a qua-seeking mid-stage shedding ninja. Seeing that the elf sent by Ruin Xiao was a shuck ninja, Nangang Yeo picked up a Pokeball and threw it out. Togekiss flew out of the Pokeball and slowly landed on the ground. The game begins. The referee waved the flag in his hand and announced the start of the battle. Pokerus and the Shuck Ninja started fighting. The flying and fairy Togekiss had an advantage over the ghost and insect Shuck Ninja. Among them, the flying system had an outstanding decisive battle effect. After a while of fighting, the Shuck Ninja was defeated by Togekiss, and Togekiss itself was also greatly damaged. While Nangang Yeo and the other two were fighting fiercely, Lin Fan came from the team in the audience and stopped in front of Zhang Xingyun. Hello, classmate Zhang. Hello. Zhang Xingyun stood up and responded. It's like this, I want to have a Pokémon battle with you, is it okay? Lin Fan asked. I couldn't ask for more. I was going to find you to spar with, but you came to me. Zhang Xingyun said with a serious look. Hahaha, really? That's a coincidence. Lin Fan also said with a smile, and then sat around and chatted with everyone. Zhang Xingyun still admired Lin Fan very much. According to the information he got, Lin Fan was born in a middle-class family, and his family background was not as good as Long Yun's, but he grew up step by step with hard work and opportunities, and he also wanted to make friends. Zhang Xingyun had seen his Beedrill's performance and estimated the approximate strength of Beedrill, plus his superpowers and other factors. Zhang Xingyun felt that, if it was a 1vs1 situation, he was not worse than Long Yun and could even beat Long Yun. This was not just a feeling, but also supported by the information. When the freshman competition was held at the Imperial Capital University, Super Evolution had not yet appeared. Super Evolution only appeared a few days after the freshman competition of the Imperial Capital University ended. In the freshman competition finals at that time, Beedrill's performance was very eye-catching, but it was only in the end that it lost to Garchomp. Before facing Garchomp, Beedrill fought Charizard and defeated it with its reverse attribute, and then faced Garchomp in its prime. While the two chatted, the battle on the field became more and more intense, and soon it came to the last game. Both of them sent out their last Pokémon and exerted their full strength. Now on the field is Super Gardevoir vs Dark Demon. Under the command of Nangang Yeo, the remaining Pokémon of Ruin Xiao were defeated one after another, leaving only Dark Demon. But Dark Demon is not simple. As soon as he appeared on the stage, he defeated Pokerus within a few moves, and then defeated Desert Dragonfly, pulling the situation back. Now both sides have only one Pokémon left. After Gardevoir appeared on the stage, Ruin Xiao pinched his hands, and a mysterious energy appeared on the field, and attached to Dark Demon. Dark Demon then rose in momentum, directly from the peak of the late Quasi King to the peak of the early King. The strength is basically the same as that of Super Gardevoir, with little difference. Night Dark Demon, Wraith Space. Roar the Night Dark Demon roared, and then his eyes became redder, and his body became ethereal. With him as the center point, a square space enveloped the entire venue. Woo hee woo, the venue was filled with smoke, and a sinister roar came from the fog. Hee suddenly, scarlet eyes lit up in the black fog, so dense that people couldn't help but feel numb when they saw it. How the grey fog dissipated, revealing a large group of skull-like creatures, rushing towards Mega Gardevoir. Puff, a bloody big hand stretched out from the ground, and then a group of elf-like corpses broke out of the ground. Fuck. What is this? The Night Dark Demon has this skill? Lan Yachan exclaimed in the audience. I heard that the Night Dark Demon is an elf that shuttles between the human and spirit worlds. Maybe he was trained at this point. Zhang Xingyun analyzed. Several people nodded when they heard it. The Night Demon spirit has the ability to receive the electromagnetic waves of the spirit world and can also store lost souls in its mouth-like stomach and bring the souls to the spirit world. This analysis makes sense. Is this the space of resentful spirits? Someone from the Ruin family in Murbury? On the rostrum, Deanlin recognized this move at a glance and asked someone next to him. Yes, she is Ruin Ji's youngest granddaughter. I remember that you suffered a lot from this move back then. Don't mention the past again. Deanlin said a little embarrassedly. Ha. But this girl's training level needs to be improved. The overall performance is condensed but not solid, but the momentum is still good. Back then, Ruin Ji used this move to trap 2 legendary elves and caused a sensation. A big man next to Deanlin said. Yes. Deanlin nodded repeatedly. Chapter 508, Ghost Space. Shanae, a dazzling moonlight flashed by. Bang woo 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 GG, the skeletons and remains that rushed towards Gardevoir were all repelled, and some turned into nothingness halfway. Swish attacks were launched from Gardevoir's hands, hitting this space one after another. Crackling bang, a space wrapped around Gardevoir shattered. Shanae, another dazzling light flashed, and a dim full moon phantom appeared above Gardevoir's head. The moon attack immediately flew out of his hand and pushed towards the Night Dark Demon. The closer he got to the Night Dark Demon, the stronger the resistance. The ghosts in the space were also approaching, blocking the attacks with their bodies and wasting the attacks. The ghosts also turned into dots of starlight and disappeared. A puff of smoke blew past, and another batch of skulls appeared, but the number was much smaller than before. The pile of graves on the ground also made a puff, and ghosts appeared again. I see. Then Gardevoir, first outside and then inside. The scene on the field was also discovered by Nangang Yeo, who immediately took action. Gardevoir flashed to the other side and attacked the relatively weak space. After a few attacks, it was destroyed. The figure flashed and appeared on the other side again, attacking continuously. Roar, the Night Dark Demon did not fail to respond and also launched a counterattack, but the effect was not great. Did you see it? Lin Fan said on the audience stand. Yes, you can see that the Night Dark Demon has not mastered this move perfectly, and there are still some shortcomings. Zhang Xingyun nodded in response. He also saw the shortcomings of the Night Dark Demon's move and conceived a way to break the situation. Yes, I was able to defeat her last time because I discovered this point. This time it is better than last time, but the opponent is also stronger. But I have to say that this is a very powerful move. Zhang Xingyun highly affirmed the Night Dark Demon's move. If this kind of skill is fully mastered, it can control the existence of a space. If there are other elves in the space, it must be a killer move. It is also possible to defeat the majority with the few and the strong with the weak. Yes, if she fully masters it, I can't beat her. Another reason is that the rules of this game restrict her. Indeed. Zhang Xingyun agreed. On the field, Gardevoir destroyed several space nodes. The ghosts that attacked in the middle were not strong. They were only at the level of Quasi-King, and they were still hollow. They turned into nothingness after a few moves. During this period, the Night Dark Demon also appeared to stop it, but was repelled by Gardevoir. After performing this move, the individual strength of the Night Dark Demon became weaker. Night Dark Demon, gather the space. Roar. After hearing the command, the Night Dark Demon gathered the space, and the space, after gathering, became more condensed. The restrictions on Gardevoir were also stronger. Gardevoir boom. Gardevoir smashed another space node. Roar the Night Dark Demon roared, and the space was being repaired at a faster speed. After closing the space, the control of the Night Dark Demon has been significantly improved. The next second Gardev were teleported to the other side of the field, which was not covered by the Night Dark Demon's space. The ghosts in the space could not come out and attack Gardev were outside the space. If the Night Dark Demon fought Gardev were head on, he would not be able to defeat Gardev were. The two elves confronted each other on the field, but the situation was still very unfavorable for the Night Dark Demon. Maintaining this space consumes its physical strength every moment. If it continues like this, it will also consume its physical strength and lose the game. Alas, it's still not ideal. I need to keep working hard. Ruin Xiao could naturally see the situation on the field and sighed. The space is large and Gardev cannot be trapped, and it can't be trapped if it is small. Night Dark Demon, please close the space. This time I made a mistake in judgment. Ruin Xiao said helplessly. The Night Dark Demon had to close the space of the vengeful spirit. After the ghost space was put away, the field returned to its original appearance, but some gloomy atmosphere still existed. Mega Gardev were also launched an attack, and the two sides started another fierce battle. The Night Dark Demon, who had consumed a lot of physical strength, fell into a disadvantage when facing Mega Gardev and was hit by skills one after another. Roar finally, after a moon attack, the Night Dark Demon roared unwillingly, slowly fell to the ground, and lost consciousness. The Night Dark Demon lost his ability to fight. Gardev won, so the winner is Zhang Xingyun. The referee announced. Warm applause came from all directions, congratulating her victory. Although she was not a student of Tito University, she also received the applause she deserved. The move just now was the ghost space, a very powerful trick. Zhang Xingyun said during a friendly handshake. Yes, but unfortunately I'm not good enough, and I still have a lot to learn. Really? That's great. I look forward to playing against you next time. I'm looking forward to it too. After shaking hands, the two walked off the field and returned to their respective teams. It's a pity that her moves are still lacking, otherwise she would have won this time. Tang Wenbin said with regret. There's no such a pity, losing is losing, remember to give me the things. Pei Wenbin said, after looking at him. I know, I cheated at that time. Are you tired? After Zhang Xingyun sat down, Zhang Xingyun asked. No. Zhang Xingyun shook her head and said with a smile. Her resentful spirit space is a very powerful move, and it is also a move that made her family famous. It's a pity that she hasn't fully mastered it and can't exert its full power. Otherwise, I would have lost this time. It's good to win. Zhang Xingyun said softly and stood up. Are you going to play? Yes, I'm going to have a competition with Lin Fan. Zhang Xingyun replied. Lin Fan had already informed the teacher, and the teacher agreed. Come on. Okay. After that, Zhang Xingyun took a step and walked towards the battlefield. Lin Fan was already standing on the other side of the battle stage. Next is contestant Zhang Xingyun versus contestant Lin Fan. Let's welcome the two contestants with warm applause. The audience on the field was still looking forward to watching the two fight. There were several smart students on the field and opened the betting. Betting on Zhang Xingyun to win, 1 to 1.5. Betting on Lin Fan to win, 1 to 2.5. This winning rate also shows that the organizer is very optimistic about Zhang Xingyun. After all, Zhang Xingyun's strength is obvious to all. Chapter 509, Fierce Battle. What are the people over there doing? Gambling? Let's go and take a look. The sharp-eyed Lan Yuchen saw the noisy crowd in the distance and heard the word gambling, so he called Kan Xiuming and others and went over. It's settled. Zhang Xingyun's 1 to 1.5. Lin Fan's 1 to 2.5. Hurry up. As soon as he got over, he heard these words. There is such a good thing. Lan Yuchen said in surprise, and said to Kan Xiuming and others, hey, someone is giving us money. Do you want to gamble? Bet. Why not refuse something that comes to your door? Kan Xiuming was the first to respond. He definitely supported his roommate. Besides, Zhang Xingyun's strength was also very strong, and he had always won more than lost. 3 to 3, with more time, okay. Lin Fan said on the stage, asking Zhang Xingyun's opinion. No problem. Zhang Xingyun agreed. At the referee's announcement, the two threw out the Pokeballs together, and the next moment, Bangulus and Dagia appeared on the field at the same time. Super evolution of the armor. While the light faded, and the super armor appeared on the field. After the super evolution, the armor gained the attribute of flying, grew a pair of wings, the small thorns on the big horns became longer and sharper, the eyes had more lines, and the color of the eyeballs changed from white to yellow. The characteristics also changed to flying skin. Zhang Xingyun immediately picked up the keystone and started the super evolution, and the super Bangulus appeared. I remember you have a spell like amplification, and it just so happens that I also know it. A breath rose from Lin Fan's body, and he saw him pinching his hand seal, and a stream of energy attached to the super armor. While the armor possessed by the energy increased its strength by a large margin, infinitely close to the first level of the king. Zhang Xingyun also followed with a spirit attachment spell, amplifying Bangulus, and his strength increased to the peak of the late Quasi King. This, after seeing Lin Fan reveal his superpowers, Liu Ruhan in the audience felt a little speechless. The last time he fought Lin Fan, he didn't use his superpowers. If he had used superpowers, wouldn't he have lost even more miserably? At this moment, he envied the superpower users again. Your student is also a superpower user. He hides it very well. Pei Wenbin said in surprise. Hahaha, Lin Fan is a low-key kid and won't actively reveal his strength. This time he broke out. It can be seen that he attaches great importance to that classmate. Seeing Pei Wenbin's surprised expression, Tang Wengshan laughed. The rules have been changed now. Zhang Xingyun's 1 to 1.8, Lin Fan's 1 to 2.3, buy it and leave it alone. When Lin Fan revealed his superpowers, the person who opened the market also changed the compensation. I bet on Lin Fan. Lin Fan is actually a person with special abilities, so I bet on him. I remember that, when he didn't reveal his special abilities, his giant bee was ridiculously strong. Now that he has special abilities, isn't it even stronger? I bet on him too. Dark Horse Lin Fan. I've decided, I'll bet on him. Lin Fan's explosion also made people think that he was a dark horse, and many people bought him. Okay, how much do you bet on? Several people who opened the market happily collected the money. Are you still betting on Xingyun? Guzinju asked. Bet, of course. If I hesitate for a second, it means I don't trust him. Lan Yuchen said affirmatively and walked to the person who opened the market. I bet on Zhang Xingyun. Can you take 5 million? Our upper limit for this is 3 million. 3 million. No, then 3 million. Swipe the card. Okay. The person who opened the market happily took the bank card in Lan Yuchen's hand and swiped it. Qian Xiuming and others also bet on Zhang Xingyun to win. I'm also betting on Zhang Xingyun. I'm optimistic about him, too. Many people are optimistic about Zhang Xingyun and are betting on him. Hurry up, there are only 5 minutes left before the betting closes, so hurry up if you want to place your bets. The results are out. Bangulus is still standing. Bangulus won. No, Bangulus has also lost his ability to fight. On the field, Bangulus fell down a few seconds after Dagia fell down and lost consciousness. Dagia will lose the battle with Bangulus first, and then Lin Fan will send out the fighting Pokémon at the specified time. The referee announced. I'm counting on you, old friend. Hiss, this time the opponent is very strong, old friend. We have to go all out. After seeing Beedrill appear on the field, Zhang Xingyun picked up the Pokeball of Mantis and threw it out. Hassan Mantis appeared on the field. Beedrill Mega Evolution. Hiss, a burst of light flashed, and Super Beedrill appeared on the field. Lin Fan exuded a dazzling halo, and as he performed the amplification spell, Beedrill's aura was also rising. Soon it stopped at the middle stage of the Heavenly King. If you face Long Yun, you will most likely defeat him. Feeling the aura of Beedrill, Zhang Xingyun said to Lin Fan. Lin Fan smiled and said nothing. Super Evolved Mantis. Spirit Attachment. Super Mantis has also reached the level of the middle stage of the Heavenly King, and its aura is almost the same as that of Beedrill. After the referee's announcement, the two elves disappeared at the same time. The next moment, they appeared in mid-air, fists and guns collided, and a sound of metal clashing sounded, accompanied by sparks. Hassan Hiss Mantis and Beedrill looked at each other, and a strong fighting spirit flashed in their eyes. Whoosh! Mantis bullet fists blasted out one after another, with heavy fist shadows, and each blow carried 1,000 pounds of force, accompanied by the sound of breaking through the air when swinging. Beedrill flashed, and dozens of Beedrills appeared on the field. These were shadow clones. Hassan Mantis went straight to attack Beedrill's real body. I knew it wouldn't be difficult for you. Beedrill swallow return. Sizzle! Beedrill turned into this after image and attacked head on. Mantis turned around and transformed, and also rushed forward with a swallow return. Bang 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 clang. Clang clang. Once they got close, the two fought for another 10 rounds. Beedrill, high speed movement. Mantis, high speed movement. Bang! Mantis and Beedrill collided with each other, and both retreated. Beedrill, solar beam. Mantis, grating cannon run. Whoosh! Bang! The two attacks collided in the air and exploded, with dust flying, and air waves like tides. Giant Mantis IAI slash. Giant Beedrill, cross scissors. Bang bang! Both Pokémon are bug Pokémon, and their strengths are similar. They both have a high level of understanding of battles and a high level of combat awareness. The two started a fierce battle on the field, and they fought back and forth, which attracted cheers and applause. I didn't expect Lin Fan to be so well hidden. I underestimated him. Off stage, Long Yun watched the fierce battle between Giant Mantis and Giant Beedrill on the field, and said with emotion. He put himself in the situation. Garchomp vs. Giant Beedrill. The odds of winning were not high, 30-70. He had 30, Lin Fan had 70. Chapter 510. Lin Fan's outburst. On the field, Mantis and Beedrill had been fighting for more than 20 minutes. The two figures intertwined and bombarded each other, evenly matched. The high-intensity battle during this period made both Pokémons pant. There were no obvious mistakes in the commands of the two trainers. It would take some time to decide the winner. Clang clang clang. Mantis and Beedrill turned into two afterimages, fighting all over the field, and the sound of clang clang was heard. If this goes on, the situation will not be favorable to me. Lin Fan looked at the two Pokémons fighting on the field and his face became solemn. Beedrill's breath had slowly dropped, while Mantis's breath was still very stable, without the slightest depression. He also discovered that there was a difference between his ability level and Zhang Xingyun's, and he was weaker than him. If he fought a protracted battle, it would be quite disadvantageous to him. He had to decide the winner in a short time, otherwise he would lose. However, it is not easy to decide the winner in a short time. First of all, Beedrill does not have overwhelming combat power to defeat Giant Mantis. Now it is just on par with Giant Mantis. We can't delay any longer. We must give it a try. Thinking of this, Lin Fan immediately made a decision and issued a combat order. Beedrill's combat method on the field has changed and become more aggressive. Zhang Xingyun also noticed the change of Beedrill and made corresponding adjustments. Under the strict defense of Giant Mantis, Beedrill did not make any substantial progress. It seems that this is the only way. Lin Fan looked at the situation on the field and made a decision in his heart. He formed seals with his hands, and a pure life energy attached to Beedrill. His face turned pale and his expression became listless. His Beedrill's momentum changed, and its breath was improved, but it was still at the level of the middle stage of the king. It also knew the situation of its trainer and immediately launched an offensive against Giant Mantis. Puff! The two guns came out at the same time, and only the clone of Giant Mantis was dispersed. A sound of breaking through the air came from behind, and Beedrill stabbed with both hands, and in an instant, it swung out a series of gun shadows. Hassan Hiss both cried out in pain, and its guns fell on the Giant Claw Mantis, and the Giant Claw Mantis's bullet fist also hit it. Hit by Beedrill, the Giant Claw Mantis's outer armor as hard as steel began to crack. Beedrill was also in pain, and was hit by several punches from the Giant Claw Mantis, and it also had injuries on its body. Bang! The two elves fought again, and the battle was more intense than before. During this period, Zhang Xingyun did not sit idly by, and also helped the Giant Claw Mantis use teleportation to launch a space attack on Beedrill. After receiving the assistance of teleportation, the Giant Claw Mantis can always avoid the attack of Beedrill at the critical moment, saving a lot of physical strength, and unexpectedly counterattacked Beedrill. After a while, Beedrill's breath became weak, and its strength was also falling, and it instantly fell to the early stage of the king. Seeing this, Mantis immediately launched a fierce attack. Now the offense and defense alternated, and it was Mantis' turn to attack. Bang! With a loud bang, there was a violent explosion on the field, the earth and rocks collapsed, and the grass debris flew. His Beedrill retreated from the smoke, with wisps of black smoke coming out of its body. Whoosh! A hot destructive light shot out from the smoke and headed straight for Beedrill. Beedrill flapped its wings, and flew into the sky. The source of the light below changed, and shot from another direction. In a hurry, it was hit by the light. Snap! Beedrill fell from the sky to the ground, the light on its body faded, and it exited the super evolution state. Mantis launched another attack. After a few rounds, Beedrill fell down and lost consciousness. Beedrill has lost its combat ability. Mantis wins. Please send out the combat Pokémon within the specified time. The referee raised his hand and announced loudly. Hassan! A burst of light also lit up on the body of the giant claw mantis, and it withdrew from the super evolution. It was not easy for it to fight with the giant bee. Lin Fan picked up the Pokéball, took the giant bee, and took out another Pokéball, and threw it out. A strong Heracross appeared on the field, and his strength was also at the level of the late Quaseking. Lin Fan injured the discomfort on his body, took out the evolution keystone, and started the super evolution. A Super Heracross, who was close to the first level of the king, appeared on the field. Super Heracross had taut muscles, sharp eyes, and a large horn on the top of his head flashed a fascinating purple-black luster, with extremely strong explosive power. A stream of energy descended on Super Heracross, and the momentum instantly condensed, breaking through the bottleneck, and reaching the first level of the king. Lin Fan's face was paler this time, and his body was trembling slightly, as if he had reached his limit. Awesome, awesome. Based on the comprehensive combat power, I think even Long Yun is not your opponent. Seeing that Super Heracross was upgraded to the first level of the king, Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. With this Mega Heracross, Lin Fan already has 2 elves with the power of a king, and Beedrill is also a mid-level king. Maybe, Lin Fan said with a pale face. Zhang Xingyun took back the giant claw mantis and released Nidoking. As a respect for you, I will definitely go all out. Of course. Nido the bound Nidoking appeared and confronted Mega Heracross. After the referee's announcement, the 2 elves started fighting, and had a close duel of power-type elves, wrestling with each other. Heracross Super Horn attack. Mega Heracross shook its big horns and charged forward, each attack carrying 1,000 pounds of force. Nidoking was not to be outdone, and his muscles bulged as he rushed forward, to block the attack of Mega Heracross. Then his tail swept away, repelling Mega Heracross, his fist flashing with flames, and he flashed behind him, and punched with both fists. Bang! The flame fist collided with the true key fist, and a dull sound was heard. This time, it was Super Heracross who retreated, and Nidoking rushed forward and attacked again. This Lin Fan is so powerful. In terms of comprehensive strength, I guess I'm not his opponent. After simulating it, Long Yun found that he might not be his opponent. It seems that I have to work harder and improve my strength. I have to work hard too. Maybe I can only defeat them after I perfect the resentful spirit space. Ruins you estimated. Not necessarily. You will improve, and so will they. When you fully master it, I don't know how much their strength will be improved. Look, being the same age as this kind of genius, I don't know if it is a good thing or a bad thing. Chapter 511 End of Communication. On the field, Heracross took a few steps back, and the ground began to wriggle. Several earth walls rose up and surrounded him. Bang! A cloud of dust rolled up, and Heracross broke free from it. In the dust, 2 flaming fists flashed. Heracross was hit by the flaming fist and stumbled back. Heracross panted, but still stood still. A sound of breaking air came from behind, and Nidoking teleported to the back, causing a commotion when he raised his fist and punched out. Heracross's armor lit up faintly, and he turned around and stabbed. With a bang, it hit Nidoking. Nidoking's attack also hit him, and he was once again thrown away and retreated. Nidoking's mouth flashed with stars, and the destruction ray was charging. After landing, Heracross also prepared the destruction ray. Whoosh whoosh! Nidoking and Heracross shot out their destructive death. beams one after another, and the two beams met in midair, and then pushed towards Heracross. Karu seeing this, Heracross used all his strength, causing the speed of the beam to pause, but Nidoking also increased the input strength, and continued to push forward. Boom, an explosion sounded, soil clods were scattered, grass and trees flew, and the field was in a mess. Nidoking teleported into the smoke, and then the sound of fighting came from the smoke. Bang, Heracross soared into the sky, and then fell to the ground with a snap. Karu, after a few seconds, Heracross tried to struggle to stand up, but he had reached his limit, and fell to the ground. A burst of light shone on his body, and he exited the super evolution state, and there was no movement. When he looked again, he had lost consciousness. Heracross loses his ability to fight, Nidoking wins, and the winner is Zhang Xingyun. Pa-pa-pa-hoo-hoo-ha-ha-ha, I knew you would win, Xingyun, and you'll be rich this time. Ha-ha-ha, I didn't misjudge you. The audience on the stage cheered, especially those who bet on Zhang Xingyun to win, who cheered the loudest. Are you okay? You look so pale. During the friendly handshake, Zhang Xingyun looked at Lin Fan's pale face, and said with concern, it's okay, just rest for a few days. I benefited a lot from fighting with you, and I found many of my shortcomings. Really? That's good. Next time we have a chance, let's fight again. Okay, welcome. The two shook hands with a smile, and then both walked off the battlefield. Wenxing, remember to send the gambling money together, ha ha ha. Pei Wenbin laughed. This time he gained face, and won a lot of supplies, and his mood was very good. Overall, the exchange and learning this time has achieved quite good results. Zhang Xingyun has defeated their two strongest students in succession. Only Ruan Xiao is left. He will probably lose to Zhang Xingyun. Then longs around the other 5 people who have not yet played, all played one after another. Maybe because of Zhang Xingyun's influence, the 5 people who played had 4 wins and 1 loss, and achieved good results. Dean Lin on the rostrum had a smile on his face all the time. Seeing the gloomy faces of the leaders of the Imperial Capital University sitting next to him, he felt very happy. This year, there are many talents in the Magic Capital University, which shows that Gu Changfeng and you leaders have led well in recent years. Zhao Hui, the old president of the Imperial Capital University, said with a smile, and then said to the leaders of the Imperial Capital University, you should also pay attention to the quality of teaching. This year's results are really poor. You have to pay attention to it after you go back. Yes. Several leaders of the Imperial Capital University quickly responded, saying that they would definitely improve the quality of teaching after they returned. With the presence of the old president Zhao Hui, everyone didn't say much, and seemed more friendly. After the 5th person finished fighting, it was already late, but it was still as bright as day on the battlefield. The next step was the free challenge mode between students. Anyone who wanted to fight that person could do so, and the teacher in charge would not care. Zhang Xingyun also encountered a lot of challenges, but they were all qua-seeking level battles, so he let the electric shock monster and Madame Huaji fight. He also achieved good results, which made them feel the strength of being the first freshman of Magic City University. Fighting with these proud children of heaven can also gain a lot of experience. Many of their fighting methods can occasionally inspire inspiration, and there are still a lot of gains in the training and cultivation of elves. This is also the reason why many trainers are keen on fighting. Not only can they find their own shortcomings, but also absorb the advantages of the other party. In the evening, under the leadership of Pei Wenbin, everyone came to a luxury hotel outside the school and ordered a large box. Ha ha ha, eat as much as you want. This meal is reimbursed by the school. Pei Wenbin said happily. Everyone was very happy, eating and drinking, and the atmosphere was very pleasant. The elves of the group were also eating on the side, with a special breeder serving them. Their exchange and study trip to the Magic City University has come to an end, and this meal is a celebration banquet. Thank you for your hard work recently. This time, our Magic City University's results are very good, the best in the past 5 years. This time, we had such a good result. First of all, we have to thank classmate Xingyun. Pa pa pa. Hearing Pei Wenbin's speech, everyone applauded. Let's toast him a glass, come on. This is all the hard work of everyone. I just did what I should do. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile and drank it. Everyone drank and ate meat together, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. Teacher Pei, when are we going back to the Magic City? During the meal, someone asked. 3 days later, I have to go back with some students from the academic side. Pei Wenbin replied. It's a rare opportunity to come to the capital. You can have some fun in the capital for these 3 days and see what it has to offer. By the way, the school will reimburse you for your trip these days. The maximum amount per person is 5 million elf coins. No restrictions on the use. The school is generous. As soon as this was said, everyone praised the school. Even Lan Yuchen and the others who came with them had a share. They ate until after 12 o'clock in the evening, and then they returned to the dormitory. After washing up, it was already past 1 o'clock. The 4 of them sat in the living room and chatted. Hey, Xingyun, what did Teacher Pei tell you just now? Lan Yuchen asked. Nothing, just told me that my reimbursement limit is 10 million. Zhang Xingyun said lightly, not really caring. If 10 million was a huge sum of money when he was still a novice or ordinary level 2, it would be a huge sum of money, but now it is nothing to him. That's great. After chatting for a while, the 4 of them sat cross-legged on the bed and began to practice. Chapter 512, Talking Dragonite. The next morning, Zhang Xingyun stopped practicing, opened his eyes, and exhaled a breath of turbid air. Heavenly King level 1, still need to work hard. Feeling that the energy in his body was a little stronger than yesterday, Zhang Xingyun said lightly. Then he got up and washed. After a while, Pei Chenjun also got up and came to the bathroom. After saying good morning to each other, they washed up together. After washing up, Lan Yuchen and the others just got up and rubbed their faces. Good morning. You are a few minutes late today. Pay attention. Zhang Xingyun reminded them. The 2 said that they would work hard a few days ago, but they were a little sluggish today, so he couldn't help but remind them. Okay, get up now. I drank a little too much yesterday. Lan Yuchen shook his head and got off the bed, and Qin Xiuming followed closely. You 2 said that you would practice diligently. Don't forget. I didn't forget. The 2 replied and went to the roommate's bathroom to wash up. Zhang Xingyun took out his mobile phone and looked at it. On WeChat, Long Zhao sent a message saying that they were going to the Dragon Valley Secret Realm together today. Zhang Xingyun immediately replied, saying that it was no problem, and sent another message to Nangan Yeo. Long Zhao sent me a message last night, saying that we can go to the Dragon Valley together today. You should have received it, right? Pei Chenjun looked at his phone and asked. Yes, she also sent me a message. Zhang Xingyun replied. That's good, then the 2 of us will go to find her later. Okay. Hey, what are you talking about? Who are you going to find? At this time, Lan Yuchen came out of the bathroom and asked curiously. It's about going to the Dragon Valley. Oh, I wish you 2 a smooth evolution and a surge in strength. Lan Yuchen congratulated. Okay, then where are you going to play today? Let's go to the Imperial City. Have fun. Yeah. This time, Lan Yuchen and the others did not plan to go to the Dragon Valley Secret Realm together, but to visit some attractions in the Imperial capital. After chatting for a while, Zhang Xingyun and Pei Chenjun left the dormitory and joined Long Zhao and others. After breakfast, they headed out of the city. When they arrived at the outskirts of the city, the car stopped. Everyone turned into elves and rode on elves to continue on their way. At 9 o'clock in the morning, everyone came to a manor with simple decoration. Okay, let's go in first. Long Zhao greeted, put away the elves and went in. Okay. Zhang Xingyun and others, led by Long Zhao, came to the hall of this courtyard. You are here, let's go. Long Yun was also in the hall. After seeing the few people, he came to them. Zhang Xingyun found that there were still a dozen people sitting in this hall, mostly young and middle-aged. They were also invited to participate. Seeing Zhang Xingyun's eyes, Long Yun introduced them. Yes. Zhang Xingyun nodded, indicating that he understood. Then, under the leadership of Long Zhao and Long Yun, they came to the back of the courtyard. There was a cave behind, where many dragon elves lived. Seeing someone coming, several Yes looked up with sleepy eyes, then ignored them, and continued to sleep. Several red-faced dragons walked out of the cave, looked at the few people, and roared softly. Who Ho, ho, several blue cotton birds flew over the sky, humming pleasant music. This place is closer to the secret realm, and many elves in the secret realm come here to live. Long Yun explained. Oh. The few people continued to walk and came to a building that looked like a temple. Dragonite, Tyranitar and other dragon type elves were engraved on the house. Click, the door was opened, and an old man with grey hair and an old face walked out. Behind the old man, there was a small dragonite supporting the old man. The small dragonite was about 1.7 meters tall, a size smaller than the normal 2.2 meter dragonite. Long Yun and the others saluted respectfully, and Zhang Xingyun and the others also greeted the old man with respectful expressions. Because this old man is Long Chen, the first champion of China, who lived more than 100 years ago. He was also a meritorious figure who pacified the turbulent society after the elves came. He was a pioneer in the elf industry, the guardian of China, and the dragon envoy. He has too many honors. Even now, there are still introductions about him in textbooks. Such a person is naturally worthy of respect from several people. No need to do so. I'm just an ordinary old man now. There is no need to do so. Long Chen said very kindly. This is what the younger generation should do. After several people saluted, they said together. Long Chen looked at these young and tender faces, encouraged them a few words, and then said to the dragonite behind him, Along, let them enter the secret realm. Okay. The dragonite behind him, called Along, actually spoke human language. It attracted several people's attention. Although Zhang Xingyun was a little surprised, he was relieved immediately. He was not surprised that the elves could speak. For some powerful elves, language is just a matter of wanting to say or not. There are also some special ones, such as the meow meow in the previous life animation. Get ready. You will feel a pull. Don't resist. Dragonite said, and a strange energy emerged from its body, linking this space. Champion Peak. Feeling the momentum of Dragonite, Zhang Xingyun opened the system to check. It turned out that this Dragonite, which was smaller than its peers, was actually a champion peak elf, and it was very close to the legendary level. At this time, a space energy descended on them and pulled them. Several people did not struggle, allowing this space energy to pull. Zhang Xingyun only felt that he came to a tunnel full of light. The light flashed, and there was a feeling of stepping on the ground under his feet. Only then did he realize that he was standing on a piece of grass at this time. Baby roar. Why is there a roar? Zhang Xingyun realized that he appeared between a baby dragon and a tooth. Looking around, he found that the two elves were fighting. His sudden appearance interrupted the battle between the two elves. Sorry to bother you, I'll leave now. Zhang Xingyun smiled awkwardly and teleported to the side. He looked around and found that he was the only one here. Nangang Yeo and the others had gone somewhere. Qhoar at this time. Two roars came at the same time, and two figures rushed over at high speed, one flying in the sky and the other on the ground. A flying dragon stopped above Zhang Xingyun's head, and its two dragon eyes looked at him vigilantly. Bang bang bang, a double axe war dragon also came in front of him, staring at him with its eyes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 513, Misunderstandings and Challenges. Hello. Zhang Xingyun said dryly. It should be that his sudden appearance startled the two elves. And in fact, it was true. The Tyrannosaurus and the double axe war dragon were not far away. Baby dragon and Yeo were their respective children. They didn't pay attention and felt a strong strange breath suddenly descending. The location of the landing was still where the two cubs were. They couldn't help but be anxious, so there was the current scene. However, due to some considerations, the two did not attack immediately, but stared closely. Zhang Xingyun released his supernatural power and greeted the two dragon elves in front of him in a very friendly manner. The two elves in front of him had bad tempers, but they were also very strong. They were both elves in the late stage of the Heavenly King. I was invited to participate in the Dragon Clan Festival. This is my partner, the Shell Dragon. Zhang Xingyun explained. After seeing the shell dragon appear, the two elves also put down their hostility and were no longer as irritable as before. Roar the Tyrannosaurus roared and told him to leave here by himself. Zhang Xingyun smiled, took out some energy cubes from the space, and put them on the ground. This is an energy cube, which is food. It tastes great. It's my compensation for disturbing you this time. Zhang Xingyun explained to the two elves telepathically, and after putting down the energy, he left here. After Zhang Xingyun left, Baby Dragon and Ye ran over, sniffed the energy cube on the ground, and made a happy sound. The smell of the energy cube on the ground was just what they wanted. When they were about to eat, they were stopped by the parents of the two little ones. The Tyrannosaurus and the double-axe war dragon scratched a few times, picked up one of them, ate it, and found that it tasted good. After eating it, they didn't find any problems, so they let the two little ones eat it. Belly yeah the two little ones ate it with a half. Q-ho on the other side, the Kabutosaurus was running happily in this area. Q-ho, so this is still your hometown? Zhang Xingyun said in surprise. The Kabutosaurus was picked up by it in Yangcheng, and it didn't indicate its origin. Cool, the Kabutosaurus nodded and looked around with great interest. When it left here, it was still a baby dragon. There is a rich dragon energy floating in the space. The dragon elves living here can also shorten their long growth cycle. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun untied his backpack and took out the elf egg of the wood gecko. Speaking of which, the wood gecko also has dragon blood. It should be good for it to be in this environment. Zhang Xingyun took the Kabutosaurus and walked on the grass with the elf egg of the wood gecko in his hand. The phone shows no signal. It seems that the space interference here is still quite large. I wonder how Joa and the others are doing. Zhang Xingyun looked at his phone and found that there was no signal on the phone. The place here is not small, and there is no way to contact them. Looking into the distance, I can see this misty mountain from a distance, but it is far away from here. That should be Xianlong Peak. The Dragon Clan's celebration should be held there. Zhang Xingyun murmured. Before coming in, Long Zhao briefly introduced the things in the secret realm and also talked about the Dragon Clan celebration venue Xianlong Peak. It is said that in the misty Xianlong Peak, the legendary giant dragon lives there. A gust of wind came out, and a figure flew straight towards him at a very fast speed. A soundwave dragon circled above his head, flew a few circles, landed on the ground, and shouted to the armored dragon a few times. Soundwave, the armored dragon is challenging you. Do you want to fight? Q-ho, the armored dragon stepped forward to respond. This is its first battle, after returning to its homeland, and of course it has to accept it. This Soundwave dragon has good qualifications, deep blue qualifications, and its strength has reached the elite peak. It only needs an opportunity to break through to the Qua-seeking. The Kabutosaurus was not much worse. After this period of cultivation, its strength had reached the peak level of the late elite. The moment the Kabutosaurus responded, the Soundwave dragon immediately launched an offensive, and the field was in turmoil. Zhang Xingyun teleported to the side and quietly watched the two elves fighting on the field. He did not command the Kabutosaurus, letting it play freely. Zhang Xingyun was very confident that the Kabutosaurus he carefully cultivated would not be much worse even without his command. Zhang Xingyun started to train the elves' self-combat awareness from the beginning. Generally, when they are suddenly attacked in the wild, or when they are fighting in a team, they will inevitably fail to take care of it. At this time, the elves' self-combat is very important. On the field, as Zhang Xingyun thought, the Kabutosaurus's combat performance was not bad. Relying on his own experience, without Zhang Xingyun's prompt, he hit the real body of the Soundwave dragon. Swish, 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 waves of dragon waves attacked and blocked the Soundwave dragon's retreat. But the Soundwave dragon roared, flapping its wings faster, creating wind blades, and meeting the dragon wave of the shell dragon. Bang, when the two skills collided, there was an explosion, and smoke and dust rolled. The Soundwave dragon's body was glowing green, and it leaped out of the smoke at a high speed, rushing straight towards the shell dragon. It was the stuntman move. With a bang, it collided with the heavy shell dragon. Soundwave the two collided, but it was the Soundwave dragon that flew backwards. Kyuho the shell dragon fell to the ground, and while the Soundwave dragon flew away, it completed the move of gathering energy. Soundwave the Soundwave dragon attacked again, still using the stuntman move. It didn't believe that it couldn't hit the shell dragon. Bang, this time, the Soundwave dragon flew backwards again, even worse than last time. Kyuho Kabutosaurus completed another energy collection, avoiding its bulky body in the battle, and using its own advantages appropriately to attack. The Soundwave dragon rushed straight at it, fighting recklessly without paying attention to too many details. After a while, the Soundwave dragon was knocked away again, and with a bang, it landed on the grass beside it, knocking a hole in the grass. Okay, Kabutosaurus, let's stop here, Zhang Xingyun shouted, asking Kabutosaurus to stop attacking. Kyuho Kabutosaurus stopped attacking after hearing this. Silly boy, if you don't understand the routines and details, you will suffer a lot in the battle. Zhang Xingyun came to the side of the Soundwave dragon, took out the healing spray, and sprayed it. After helping it heal, he took out some energy cubes, and placed them in front of it. This was also a reward for being Kabutosaurus' sparring partner. Then, he and Kabutosaurus left here, and went to other places. Chapter 514, Soundwave Dragon Surrender. Dragonite, let's fly over here, and see where Xingyun and the others have gone. Nangang Yeo commanded, while riding on Dragonite's back. Wua Dragonite responded, and quickly flew in one direction. When Dragonite flew over a mountain range, a soul-stirring dragon roar came from below. Several figures quickly approached Dragonite, and stopped it in front. Child, welcome to the Dragon Valley, an older Dragonite said in a gentle voice, calling Dragonite. Wua. Several other Dragonites were also shouting, expressing something. Hello, Senior Dragonite, I'm the trainer of Dragonite, and I was invited here this time. Nangang Yeo said to the old Dragonite who was in the lead. Hello to you too, an excellent human trainer. The old Dragonite replied. It could see from the skin color of Dragonite that Dragonite was not abused, but on the contrary, it was cultivated by elites, and it couldn't help but have a good impression of Nangang Yeo. Since you're here, come down and sit down. You haven't been home for a long time, kid. Woo. Then obey your orders. Sorry for bothering you. Hahaha, it's okay. Then Nangang Yeo was invited by the old Dragonite to the underground Dragonite tribe to rest. On the other side, Zhang Xingyun avoided the pursuit of Gyarados. The reason was that when Zhang Xingyun passed by here, he looked at the lake with rippling water and endless water, and rested by the lake for a while. Kabutosaurus came to the lake to drink water. After drinking the water, he couldn't help but roar at the lake a few times to express his excitement. Unexpectedly, after roaring, a Gyarados jumped out and roared at Kabutosaurus a few times. As a result, the two fought, and Kabutosaurus won. As soon as Gyarados fell, several Gyarados jumped out, and without saying a word, they blasted directly at him with a destructive death ray. At the critical moment, Nidoking and the others came out of the Pokeball and protected Kabutosaurus. The appearance of Nidoking and the others seemed to have angered them. The Gyarados roared loudly, as if conveying some information. All of a sudden, more than 10 Gyarados came, led by a red shining Gyarados, who was very powerful and had the strength of the late Heavenly King. Without saying anything, he just blasted a beam of destruction and death. Helplessly, he couldn't talk to them and couldn't beat them, so Zhang Xingyun had no choice but to run away. There were also several grumpy Gyarados that jumped out of the lake and chased them. Sure enough, Gyarados is still so domineering. If there is a disagreement, it will blast a beam of destruction and death. Zhang Xingyun rode on the back of Charizard and landed in a jungle. Kyuho Kabutosaurus roared a few times in a low voice, which meant to apologize. It's okay, Kabutosaurus, this is nothing. Zhang Xingyun consoled. In people's eyes, the Gyarados are the kind of Pokémons that are bullies. Every year, in the sea Pokémon attacks, Pokémons like Gyarados account for a high proportion. But its fighting power is not weak, and its appearance is fierce and mighty, which makes it quite popular among many people. This area should be the Gyarados Lake, right? Zhang Xingyun took out a map and muttered. This map was given to him by Long Zero when he came in, so that he would not get lost after entering. The purple gold forest in front is the tribe of the Sound Wave Dragon, and then there are the Unmian forest of the Kixie Bluebird. Let's go, we still have a long way to go. Zhang Xingyun put away the map and continued to walk forward with the Kabutops. Kuho Kabutops followed beside him, while Charizard flew into the air and observed the surroundings. In order to reduce trouble, Zhang Xingyun passed by the side of the purple gold forest. There are a lot of purple gold trees growing around. Purple gold trees are not trees on Blue Star, but they only exist on Blue Star after the elves came. It is more than 10 meters high, and under the sunlight, it reflects a purple-black luster. Its leaves are long and pointed, and there are red fruits on the branches. Woo! Sound wave, I have no ill intentions. I'm just passing by here. I was invited here, and I'm here to help my partner evolve here. Sound Wave. The Sound Wave Dragon looked at him, then looked at the Carapace Dragon, and then roared a few words to its kind behind it. Sound Wave. The Sound Wave Dragon and the buzzing bats dispersed, making way out. Thank you. Zhang Xingyun thanked him, and left the place with Charizard and Carapace Dragon. Sound Wave. A quick voice sounded, and a Sound Wave Dragon flew quickly, and stopped in front of Zhang Xingyun. Sound Wave. Looking closely, this Sound Wave Dragon was still injured. It's you. Zhang Xingyun also recognized the Sound Wave Dragon in front of him, the one that was defeated by the Carapace Dragon earlier. Sound Wave. The Sound Wave Dragon shouted loudly, to the effect that he wanted to become his spirit and accept his guidance. After being defeated by Kabutosaurus, this Sonic Dragon realized the gap. In addition, when Zhang Xingyun left, he also treated his wounds and sent him food. The Sonic Dragon thought he was very good and decided to follow him. Sorry Sonic Dragon. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and refused. It's not that Sonic Dragon's strength is low, nor is it that its qualifications are poor, but it's its nature. After being in the wild for so long, Sonic Dragon's 3 views and personality have basically been fixed. This time, perhaps it was Sonic Dragon's impulsive decision. Zhang Xingyun still refused. Sonic Dragon shouted with some regret. Sonic Dragon, you are an excellent Pokémon. You will become stronger without a trainer. Another thing is to be careful and pay more attention to the details of the battlefield. Zhang Xingyun still gave some suggestions. Sonic Dragon nodded, which was considered to be listening. Okay, see you again, if we are destined to. Zhang Xingyun waved his hand. Sonic Dragon responded, which also meant goodbye. Chapter 515 Arrival at Cheyenne Long Peak. As a branch of dragon-type elves like the Sound Wave Dragon have great potential. It just doesn't meet Zhang Xingyun's expectations, so forget it. If you want to subdue it, you must consider it, and its cultivation plan and resources must be taken into account. It's not just a simple subjugation. Let's take a rest here, Zhang Xingyun said, and stopped. Now we have walked out of the Sound Wave Dragon's tribe and come to a small river. He released his mental power and explored it, but found no elves hiding in it. Zhang Xingyun released Nidoking and the others, took out food from the space, and ate with the elves. I haven't eaten like this for a long time, Zhang Xingyun said to the elves, with a look of reminiscence on his face. In the recent period of time, he has not come to the wild, so naturally he has not eaten like this. I remember that, when I was still very weak, I had to eat in the wild secretly, for fear of being discovered and attacked by the elves in the wild. But now I don't have to. Chirp, chirp. The 3 blue cotton birds flew to a distant branch, and looked at them curiously, wanting to go up but not daring to. They probably didn't dare to go forward, after seeing the state of Nidoking and Bangulus. Zhang Xingyun knew about the appearance of the 3 blue cotton birds at the first time. After thinking for a while, he used his supernatural power to teleport some energy cubes in front of the 3 of them. Hello, this is for you, he told them telepathically. Chirp. The blue cotton birds looked at Zhang Xingyun from a distance, and felt a very friendly breath on his body. After smelling the fragrance of the energy cubes, they began to eat. After watching the 3 blue cotton birds eating cutely, Zhang Xingyun smiled, took out the prepared dairy products from the space, came to the 3 of them, put them in front of them, and motioned them to taste. Chirp. The 3 blue cotton birds were not polite, and began to eat. Zhang Xingyun returned to the original place, packed up his things, put Nidoking and the others back into the Pokeball, and walked towards the cloud cotton forest. Chirp. 3 blue cotton birds circled around Zhang Xingyun, chirping. Zhang Xingyun checked the system and found that the qualifications of these 3 blue cotton birds were all light blue, which was considered to be very good Pokémon. I don't know if it was because of the environment, but the Pokémon Zhang Xingyun observed here generally had very high qualifications. There were very few with yellow qualifications, and most of them were green and blue. Chirp. The calls of the 3 blue cotton birds also attracted the attention of other blue cotton birds, which flew over and observed him. Seeing the 3 blue cotton birds flying so close, they also let down their guard, flew very close, and looked at him curiously. "Hello," Zhang Xingyun said with a smile on his face and a gentle tone, and took out some Pokémon food snacks from the space and fed them. On the branches in the distance, several Tenabata bluebirds landed there, quietly looking at Zhang Xingyun. At this time of year, several human trainers would pass by here, and they were all used to it. Some of the blue cotton birds had never seen humans before, and they were full of curiosity. They surrounded Zhang Xingyun and observed him. Zhang Xingyun smiled and sprinkled a handful of elf snacks for the blue cotton birds to eat. The blue cotton birds were also very cute, and they lined up in an orderly manner without any mess. Their appearance reminded Zhang Xingyun of Gyarados. They also lived here, but their personalities were indeed two extremes. The Kabutops just roared a few times, and was served by the destruction of the dead. Chirp. Zhang Xingyun's snacks were awarded. After eating the food, the surrounding blue cotton birds sang beautiful music, which made people feel happy. There were no accidents along the way. Zhang Xingyun walked out of their territory, put all the food in his hand on the ground, and waved to them. "See you again, if we are lucky." Zhang Xingyun collected the tree fruits given by the blue cotton birds in his hand, sat on the back of the fire-breathing dragon, and rushed to Xianlong Peak. Ao flying in the sky, elves flew by from time to time. At this time, a tropical dragon came over, and whined around it. "Charizard, speed up and get rid of it." Woo! Charizard responded and sped up. Woo! Seeing Charizard speed up, tropical dragon also got excited and sped up, chasing after Charizard. In the end, it was still thrown off by Charizard, but after flying for a while, it encountered several lion birds, circling around Charizard. A loud dragon cry came, and a figure flew quickly. It was Tyrannosaurus. Seeing this, several lion birds flew underground, lowered their flying altitude, and made way for it. Whoosh! When Tyrannosaurus flew over Charizard, it glanced at the Kabutosaurus, roared softly, and flew quickly into the distance. Ho! Looking at the Tyrannosaurus flying far away, Kabutosaurus looked yearning. "It's almost time, Kabutosaurus. You will soon be able to evolve into a flying dragon." Zhang Xingyun comforted Kabutosaurus. Woo! Charizard also encouraged. Ho! Kabutosaurus looked into the distance, his eyes deep, thinking about something. Whoosh! A few more flying elves came over, showing off their flying skills, flying past Charizard, teasing Charizard. Charizard increased its speed, and didn't want to pay attention to them. Seeing this, several king swallows also increased their speed, and chased Charizard closely. "Come out, Pidgeot." Zhang Xingyun released Pidgeot, and flew with Charizard. Seeing this, several king swallows continued to follow, and provoked Charizard and Pidgeot. "Drive them away." B-roar! Zhang Xingyun floated on the side with Kabutosaurus, and Pidgeot and Charizard took action one after another. After a while, they drove away several annoying king swallows. Zhang Xingyun also switched to Pidgeot's back, took out the keystone, and started super evolution. After super evolution, Pidgeot's strength reached the peak of Qua-seeking. With a cry, it flew to Xianlong Peak, faster than Charizard. Super Pidgeot's exposed aura and its speed did not encounter any elves along the way. The farther he flew to Xianlong Peak, the rarer the elves he encountered. Along the way, he encountered several quasi-god elves such as Dragonite and Landshark. Among them, the mild-tempered Dragonite even greeted him a few times. "Pidgeot, find a place to land." After flying for several hours, Pidgeot carried Zhang Xingyun and Kabutosaurus to the outskirts of Xianlong Peak, and rushed into the mountains shrouded in white mist. After landing, Zhang Xingyun felt that the energy concentration here was higher than that of the outskirts. Dragonite and Dragonite should live here, so Dragonite's colony should also be here. Looking at the surrounding environment, Zhang Xingyun guessed. Chapter 516. The Elder of the Kabutosaurus. Kuo the Kabutosaurus seemed a little excited and ran in one direction. As soon as it landed, Kuo the Kabutosaurus roared excitedly. Here it could feel the smell of its childhood, and it could be determined that this place was not far from its hometown. After Zhang Xingyun caught up, the Kabutosaurus followed in front and walked towards a cave. The cave was a little narrow, but after walking for a while, it suddenly became clear. The sun was warm and the grass was green, which was another scene. Kuo the Kabutosaurus shouted happily, which meant that the Kabutosaurus was back. But as soon as the voice fell, a baby dragon fell from above, and with a bang, it hit a large rock and smashed the large rock into pieces. Baby dragon? Kabutosaurus, this is where you stayed when you were a child. Kuo the Kabutosaurus nodded and replied. Belly the baby dragon beside shook its head, shook off the gravel on its head, waved its two short hands, patted its head, and called out to the armored dragon and Zhang Xingyun. Q-ho belly the two elves exchanged a few words, and then the armored dragon led Zhang Xingyun to walk in one direction. From a distance, Zhang Xingyun saw two armored dragons basking in the sun comfortably, motionless. There were also several baby dragons playing and fighting. Turning back, there was a large orchard in the distance, with mouth-watering fruits hanging on the trees, and several armored dragons lying under the fruit trees. This is a dragon's nest, right? There are so many baby dragons. Looking at everything around, Zhang Xingyun murmured. Any of these elves would be first-class elves in the outside world, the kind that money can't buy. Raw whoosh, a gust of wind blew, and a somewhat old Tyrannosaurus landed in front of Zhang Xingyun, looking at him with a pair of big dragon eyes. Raw Q-ho the Kabutosaurus stepped forward and said something to the Tyrannosaurus. Raw the Tyrannosaurus sniffed and roared softly. Q-ho wow the Tyrannosaurus seemed to recognize something, with a look of surprise in its eyes. Q-ho the Kabutosaurus and the Tyrannosaurus started talking, and the Tyrannosaurus even patted the Kabutosaurus excitedly. It can be seen that the two should know each other. Q-ho as it said that, the Kabutosaurus turned its head to look at Zhang Xingyun, and said something to the Tyrannosaurus. Hello, I'm the trainer of Kabutosaurus. Zhang Xingyun greeted him in a friendly manner. He just learned from Kabutosaurus that the Tyrannosaurus in front of him was Kabutosaurus's child, and Kabutosaurus affectionately called it Grandpa Dragon. It is also very powerful, with the strength of a mid-level champion, and its qualifications have reached an astonishing light purple. Raw Tyrannosaurus roared softly as a reply. Then, Tyrannosaurus folded its wings and walked forward with Kabutosaurus, and Zhang Xingyun followed behind. Soon, Zhang Xingyun and Kabutosaurus came to a fruit forest. After passing through the fruit forest, they saw caves arranged upwards, and on the other side, they could see the misty outside. Q-ho-ao roar the dragon roars came from the caves, announcing that there were dragons living inside. The two baby dragons poked their heads out of the caves, and looked at Zhang Xingyun curiously. Roar a female Tyrannosaurus poked its head out from inside, looked at Zhang Xingyun for a few times, and then returned to the cave with two baby dragons in its mouth. Is this a dragon cave? Zhang Xingyun murmured as he looked at the caves that were arranged layer by layer along the mountain range. Zhang Xingyun took a rough look and found that there were about 100 caves here. If there were 2 Tyrannosaurus in each cave, then there would be more than 200 Tyrannosaurus here. Of course, when Zhang Xingyun passed by, he also found that there was no sound coming from several caves, so there should be no Tyrannosaurus living in them. He roughly guessed in his heart that the number of Tyrannosaurus living here should be around 300. More than 300 sounds like a lot, but it is very small among the elves. According to the official statistics of China last year, there are more than 60 million registered trainers in the whole of China, so the probability of owning a Tyrannosaurus is very low. Of course, in some places in the wild, Tyrannosaurus has been found sporadically, and there are also Tyrannosaurus groups living in some dragon secret realms. Led by the Baofilong, Zhang Xingyun and the Kabutosaurus came to the outside of a cave. The cave was about 3 meters high, and Zhang Xingyun did not feel crowded when he walked in. When he came to the cave, there was a nest made of silk cloth inside, which should be the work of the Long family. Next to it, there was a small nest. As soon as the Kabutosaurus came in, he walked to the small nest and looked at it. It should be the nest when it was a baby dragon. Kuo the Baophilan held out a pile of tree fruits and several large pieces of raw meat from the side and placed them in front of Zhang Xingyun and the Kabutosaurus, roaring a few times, roughly inviting them to taste. "Thank you, just eat it." Zhang Xingyun smiled and looked at the scenery in the cave. The space here is not small, and it can be seen that this place is the work of people's construction, not naturally formed, and it should also be the work of Long Yun's family. Kuo the Kabutosaurus was not polite and went straight forward and bit the meat. The Baophilan watched it from the side, looking very kind. Raw Tyrannosaurus roared at Zhang Xingyun, asking, "I was invited to the secret place this time. It just so happens that Kabutosaurus is about to evolve, so I came here to evolve." Zhang Xingyun naturally understood what Tyrannosaurus meant and replied. Tyrannosaurus nodded, pondered for a moment, and roared at him softly, asking him to follow it and go to the Dragon Blood Pool, the clan land of their dragon clan, to evolve. "Thank you, Senior. You're welcome. This child is also a member of our dragon clan. This is what I should do." Tyrannosaurus's somewhat old voice sounded on the telepathy, looking at Kabutosaurus. "Human trainer. What's wrong, Senior? You have to treat this child well." "Don't worry, Senior, I will," Zhang Xingyun promised. He has always been wholeheartedly devoted to his own Pokémon. Berry outside the cave, two baby dragons poked their heads into the cave and walked in step by step. Berry the two baby dragons were holding a few blood-colored fruits with scale-like textures on them. These fruits were dragon scale fruits, a kind of fruit that dragon-type elves loved to eat and was very nutritious. Berry roared. Seeing the two baby dragons, the flying dragon took a step forward, came to the two baby dragons, and took the fruits in their hands. Chapter 517, The Land of Dragon Evolution. Kuo the Tyrannosaurus looked at the two baby dragons kindly. After putting down the fruit, it stroked the two baby dragons. It seemed that it loved the two baby dragons very much. Berry Kuo the Tyrannosaurus that Zhang Xingyun saw outside in the past was always irritable and ferocious, but what Zhang Xingyun saw now was the warm side of the Tyrannosaurus. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun took out the energy cube and the elf food from the space and put them on the ground. "Hello, baby dragons," Zhang Xingyun said friendly and pushed the energy cube with both hands. The two baby dragons looked at the Tyrannosaurus as if asking something. After seeing the Tyrannosaurus nod, they let out a roar and came over to eat with relish. Berry the two baby dragons ate happily. The food that Zhang Xingyun took out was very suitable for their appetite. These foods were prepared for the carapace dragon, and the ingredients selected were also the favorite flavors of their baby dragon clan, so the two baby dragons naturally liked to eat them. "Roar, you're welcome, Senior. These are nothing," Zhang Xingyun said with a smile, and talked to Baophilan about the past of Kabutosaurus. It turned out that when Kabutosaurus was still an egg, it was picked up by Baophilan in a newly descended secret realm outside, similar to the elf egg of young Kyrus he picked up at that time. Not long after it was brought back to the dragon clan, Kabutosaurus hatched from the egg and lived with Baophilan for a while. Baophilan didn't know about Kabutosaurus's parents. Since there were not many dragon cubs in the clan, Baophilan also cared more about the baby dragons in the clan. When Kabutosaurus was young, he lived a pretty good life in the dragon cave. After a rest, Baophilan took Kabutosaurus and him and flew to the mountain. Kabutosaurus was very fast and shuttled through the clouds. Passing through the heavy clouds, Baophilan carried him and Kabutosaurus to a place. What came into view was a huge cave entrance, on which were carved stone statues of Dragonite and Kabutosaurus, which were lifelike. Zhang Xingyun, who was far away, felt a great energy inside, and the free energy around was also extremely active. The Tyrannosaurus flew in, flying in many turns. Along the way, he also encountered several dragon-type elves, who did not stop him after seeing the Tyrannosaurus. The Tyrannosaurus landed and stopped on one side. "Okay, this is the place where our dragons evolve." The voice of the Tyrannosaurus came through telepathy. Zhang Xingyun and the carapace dragon immediately got off its back and stood on the ground. Gululu looking up, there was a gurgling sea of blood, which exuded an extremely strong dragon-type aura. A thin red mist filled the blood pool. Hualala, several dragon-type quasi-gods emerged from the blood-colored pool. There were Sharp-Tooth Land Shark, Haxorus, Slimy Beauty, Scaled Dragon, etc. Even in the pool, Zhang Xingyun saw several Magikarp and other elves. This is not only the evolution place for the quasi-gods, but also other dragon-type elves evolve here. Okay, Kabutosaurus, you go in. Baofilong said, letting Kabutosaurus enter the blood pool. Ho Kabutosaurus responded and looked at Zhang Xingyun. Go. Zhang Xingyun said softly. Kabutosaurus jumped up and jumped into the blood pool with a splash. Do you want to wait here or go outside? Baofilong said. Forget it, I'll stay here with Kabutosaurus. I'm here mainly for its evolution. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and refused. Baofilong didn't say anything. After talking for a while, he flew out and got busy. Dragon Clan celebration. Leap Dragon Gate. Zhang Xingyun looked at a door-like building in the distance of the blood sea in front of him and muttered. According to Baofilong, when the dragon celebration outside begins, the dragon energy in the secret realm will reach a peak, and this is also the time for Kabutosaurus to evolve. Karakaraptor, you should absorb these energies well. I'll stay here with you, Zhang Xingyun said, and then found a place to sit down and meditate. Right. As if thinking of something, Zhang Xingyun took out Charizard's Pokeball, released Charizard from the Pokeball, and let it stay in the blood pool, which would also be good for it. Charizard is also a Pokémon with dragon bloodline, which is also good for it. Then, he opened the hatching device of the wood gecko, and connected it to the outside. The Dragonite here is called the Dragon Blood Pool, while Longzaro and the others call it the Dragon Transformation Pool. This is also an important clan land of the Dragon Clan and a place where their outstanding descendants evolve. When Zhang Xingyun was sitting cross-legged on the ground, he felt several powerful auras hidden in it, which were very obscure. A sound of footsteps came, and Zhang Xingyun looked up and saw two people walking over, a man and a woman, neither of whom Zhang Xingyun knew. Someone is here, one of the women said. This is normal, they were invited just like us, the man said, and then he greeted Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun nodded in response. Then, the man released a golden carp magica and the woman released a sticky beauty. They let the two elves enter the blood pool and sat aside. Soon, a fierce bite land shark carrying a sharp-toothed land shark flew in. After taking a look at the few people, they let the sharp-toothed land shark enter the blood pool. There was another noise. Several dragonites flew in with two Haxorus. After seeing the fierce bite land shark, they greeted it. Wuabite. After several quasi-gods chatted for a few words, they flew out together. After them, several more elves flew in, and let those elves that needed to evolve enter the blood pool. We are here at the Dragon Transformation Pool. A voice came, and then two figures flew out, and landed not far from Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes, and saw a Dragonite with a particularly strong aura and a Tyrannosaurus. There were two men standing next to the two Pokémons, one of whom he recognized. That man was Longyun. Hey, Xingyun, you're here too, pretty quick. Longyun looked up, and saw Zhang Xingyun sitting cross-legged beside him, so he said, Xingyun? Is he the one you said defeated you? The man next to Longyun said, also looking at Zhang Xingyun. Longyun, you're here too. Zhang Xingyun stood up, and walked in front of the two people, and replied. Then he looked at the man next to Longyun and said, Long Xian Wang, I've heard a lot about you. The man next to Longyun was none other than Longzaro, one of the four new Xian Wangs of Huaxia. Chapter 518. The Dragon Clan celebration begins. The handsome young man in front of him saw Zhang Xingyun's match on TV, after he just became a trainer. The excitement of that match is still fresh in his memory. You are the classmate Xingyun that Yundi mentioned, right? It is true that heroes emerge from youth. Seeing you like this, I feel old. Longzaro said with a smile, and stretched out a hand to shake hands with Zhang Xingyun in a friendly manner. He would naturally not treat Zhang Xingyun, who could defeat his cousin, with arrogance. Hahaha, Xian Wang is joking. Zhang Xingyun also responded with a smile. While the two were talking, the two people who had come here earlier also came over and greeted everyone. Hello, Xian Wang Long, I'm Ruan Zhe, and this is my sister Ruan Pan. Ruan Zhe introduced himself and introduced the woman next to him. Hello. Long Zhao turned his head and said to the Ruan brothers and sisters, surname Ruan? When Zhang Xingyun heard it, he thought of Ruan Xiao. These two people should be related to her. I happened to be out when the Heavenly King came to Mobile last time, so I didn't meet him. It's a pity. Ruan Zhe said with regret. You're welcome. While the two chatted, Zhang Xingyun stayed aside without saying a word. Looking at this man named Ruan Zhe, who was not very old, he spoke in a set of ways. Those two are from Ruan Xiao's family, and they were also invited here. When the Ruan brothers and sisters were chatting with Long Xiao, Long Yun came over and chatted with Zhang Xingyun. He had just put a sea-thorn dragon into the blood pool. So that's it. Zhang Xingyun suddenly realized and said lightly, or at this time, the sound of dragons came from far away outside, and the blood pool in the space also surged, and the water in the pool was still emitting a misty red light. The dragon race's celebration has begun. You can do whatever you want. After saying that, Long Zhao summoned the fast dragon, rode on it, and flew out with a whoosh. Let's go too, the Ruan siblings said, releasing their spirits, riding on them and flying out. The celebration has begun. Xingyun, do you want to go out and take a look? Long Yun asked. No, the Computersaurus is about to evolve. I'll just stay here. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and refused. Actually, it's okay to let the Computersaurus evolve here. By the way, where are the other people? Why haven't I seen them? I remember they also have things to evolve. Zhang Xingyun said, changing the subject. Their spirits should not be from the quasi-god veins. If not, they will evolve in other evolutionary places. Unless they are extremely qualified, or for other reasons, they will be sent here. Long Yun explained that there are several evolutionary places in the Dragon Valley, and the place in front of them is the evolutionary place for the quasi-god veins in the Dragon Valley. A dragon roar that reached the sky and the earth came from outside, extremely loud. The giant dragon has come out. Let's go out and take a look. Let's take a look at the entrance of the cave. Long Yun suggested. It will take some time for your Computersaurus to evolve. We can see it outside the cave entrance. We will be back soon. We are in a hurry. Besides, it is okay to let it evolve here. Look at so many dragon type elves evolving here. Zhang Xingyun looked at the Computersaurus quietly absorbing dragon type energy in the blood pool. Then let's go out and take a look. Go quickly and come back quickly, Zhang Xingyun said. He was also very curious about the giant dragonite and just wanted to take a look. Okay, let's go. The two immediately released the elves, rode on the back of the elves, and flew out quickly. Roar, a dragonite as tall as a mountain flew above Xianlong Peak and roared to the sky. At the top of Xianlong Peak, there is a very large flatland, on which various dragon-type elves stood. In the sky, many flying dragon-type elves were also flying. Swish, the giant dragonite opened its mouth and shot a very gorgeous ball of light to the sky. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the ball of light in the sky bloomed like fireworks, turning into strands of orange-red energy light rain, falling down. On the ground, the dragon-type elves in the sky bathed in the light rain and danced a mysterious dance. A mysterious and majestic atmosphere enveloped the large area. The dragons danced together, and the dragonite as big as a mountain. Such a scene deeply shocked Zhang Xingyun. 10,000 dragons danced together. I guess the 10,000 dragon pavilion was based on this. Yes, the 10,000 dragon pavilion was indeed based on this. Long Yun, who was riding on the back of the Libite Garcomp, said, let's go. Let's also bathe in the dragon source light rain, which is very beneficial for dragon type elves. Maybe my Libite Garcomp can break through the bottleneck of the king because of this. He could feel the energy radiating from afar here, and he could imagine the energy concentration in the center. Charizard, go there. It will be of great benefit to you. Woo, just go. I'm a human and can only benefit a limited amount, and I have to stay here with Computersaurus. Woo, Charizard was persuaded and followed Long Yun to fly there, while Zhang Xingyun transferred to the back of Pidgeot. In the telescope, Zhang Xingyun saw Nangang Yao and Page Engine bathing in the light rain, with Dragonite and Desert Dragonfly dancing beside them. Pidgeot, let's go. Pidgeot flapped its wings and flew to the blood pool. At this time, the dragon blood pool was boiling and flowing, and the evolution here began. The elves in the pool swam towards the Dragon Gate building in the distance, including Kabutosaurus. Kabutosaurus, eat this. Zhang Xingyun took out the prepared potion from the space and sent the potion to Kabutosaurus through teleportation. Kabutosaurus opened its mouth and swallowed the potion along with the shell, then swam towards the gate. Every time it swam a distance further inside, the aura of Kabutosaurus rose a little. Just after swimming a short distance, a Magikarp emitted the light of evolution and began to evolve. In the light, the body of the Magikarp stretched and trained, but it also swam towards the Dragon Gate. Roar, 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 a low dragon roar sounded in the light, and the light bloomed more dazzlingly. Soon, a majestic looking Gyarados appeared on the blood pool. This Gyarados was considered to have successfully transformed into a dragon, but it seemed a little dissatisfied. It roared loudly, and its huge body twisted in the blood pool, affecting several dragon-type Pokémon beside it. A strong aura of coercion appeared from nowhere. It was an old Tyrannosaurus. As soon as it appeared, it roared at the unwilling Gyarados. Hearing the dragon's roar, Gyarados immediately stopped and swam to the side. Chapter 519, Kabutosaurus Evolution. The Tyrannosaurus looked at Zhang Xingyun, then turned his head to look at the elves swimming in the pool, nodded imperceptibly, and then flapped its wings and flew towards the inside of the pool. A Tyrannosaurus at the top of the champion. Zhang Xingyun murmured. When the Tyrannosaurus appeared, he opened the system to scan it and found that the strength of this Tyrannosaurus was actually at the top of the champion. Q-ho, the Kabutosaurus swam towards the Dragon Gate relentlessly, passing one elf after another. At this time, it had already swam halfway, and the aura emanating from its body had also broken through the peak of the late elite and entered the first level of the Qua-seeking. Q-ho, while swimming, the Kabutosaurus only felt that the dragon blood inside its body was ignited and extremely hot. In the surrounding pool water, small streams of hot energy penetrated through the outer armor and merged into its body, making it feel that the dragon essence in its body was unprecedentedly abundant, and the light of evolution began to flash on its body at this moment. The Kabutosaurus restrained its evolution and rushed straight towards the Dragon Gate. On the Dragon Gate, there was something that attracted it, making it restless. Not far from the Kabutosaurus, 3 evolutionary lights lit up, indicating that the 3 elves had started to evolve. What is embedded in that Dragon Gate? It is shining red. Zhang Xingyun picked up a special telescope and looked at the Dragon Gate. Through the heavy mist, Zhang Xingyun saw the red object embedded in the Dragon Gate that was emitting light. It was a palm-sized red square, on which there seemed to be a dragon-shaped phantom wandering and exuding a mighty dragon. The Dragon Gate was also engraved with ancient patterns, and there were also the appearances of Dragonite and others. The appearance of them on the Dragon Gate was all looking in one direction, which was exactly where the red square was embedded, which was very mysterious. What is that thing? Zhang Xingyun held the telescope in his hand and tried to see it more clearly by focusing, but at this time the blood pool surged violently. A Haxorus had already swam under the Dragon Gate and rushed towards the Dragon Gate against the flowing water. After several attacks, the Haxorus jumped over the Dragon Gate. At this time, a red light ball diffused from the red square and attached to the Haxorus. The Haxorus immediately emitted a white and red light and began to evolve. Is that the dragon's late? That's why it is so attractive to dragon-type elves. Zhang Xingyun saw the scene of Haxorus's evolution and couldn't help but speculate. The evolutionary light lit up one after another on the field. Many elves started to evolve and lit up one after another. Only a few suppressed their desire to evolve and came to the pool under the Dragon Gate. The Kabutops was among them. A huge golden carp tried to jump, but unfortunately it didn't jump over. With a snap, it fell down and smashed a wave of water. The rest of the elves tried one after another. The 2 elves beside him tried to jump, but both failed and fell down. Q-ho, the Kabutosaurus secretly accumulated strength, and the light of evolution flashing on its body was about to reach a threshold. Q-ho, the Kabutosaurus moved and jumped with all its might, directly jumping over the Dragon Gate. As it crossed over, the red block on the Dragon Gate erupted a large ball of red light, covering it. Ho, the Kabutosaurus roared, and no longer suppressed evolution. A bright blood-colored light enveloped it. Have you turned on evolution? I wonder what you will look like after evolution. Zhang Xingyun put down the telescope in his hand and said softly. Roar. A majestic and resounding dragon roar sounded, and the other dragon elves in the pool seemed to be startled, looking at the source of the sound with horror in their eyes. Roar. The Pokémon in the light ball moved slightly, shaking off the evolutionary light that enveloped its body, and a Pokémon with a completely new look flew out of it. It was a Pokémon with 4 legs, 2 gorgeous blood red wings, and a long tail. Its whole body was dark blue, and the inside of its head, neck, limbs, and tail were all blood red. Its lower jaw and abdomen were covered with 3 shells, similar in shape and color to the shell of the Kabutops. It was the evolution of the Kabutops, Tyrannosaurus rex, also known as Bloodwinged Dragon and Tyrannosaurus rex. 2 figures appeared on the field at some point, staring straight at the evolved Tyrannosaurus rex. One of them was the old Tyrannosaurus rex that appeared earlier, and the other figure was also a ferocious looking Garchomp. Zhang Xingyun felt a gust of wind blowing in his face, and the old Tyrannosaurus rex flew in front of him. Human trainer, you raised that child, right? Tyrannosaurus rex spoke in human language, and asked Zhang Xingyun. Yes senior, the carapaced dragon. No, the Tyrannosaurus is my partner. Zhang Xingyun replied quickly. Well, it can be seen that you treat it sincerely and cultivate it quite perfectly, better than other children in the tribe. It is also its luck that this child met you. No, it is also my luck, Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. The Tyrannosaurus flapped its bright blood-colored wings and flew towards him, roaring excitedly while flying, conveying the joy in its heart. It landed in front of Zhang Xingyun and opened its arms for a big hug. Ha, Tyrannosaurus, congratulations, you have evolved as you wished. Well, it is quite majestic and domineering. After leaving his arms, Zhang Xingyun looked at it carefully and exclaimed. While hearing this, the Tyrannosaurus excitedly showed him its evolved body. The old Tyrannosaurus beside him also smiled and nodded when he saw this scene. The Tyrannosaurus turned around and looked at the old Tyrannosaurus, tilting his head as if asking it what it was doing here. Child, congratulations on your successful evolution and becoming a member of the dragon clan that flies in the sky. The old Tyrannosaurus said softly. Ho, human trainer, are you willing to let it go with me? I will teach it some of the moves of our Tyrannosaurus clan. The old Tyrannosaurus looked at Zhang Xingyun and negotiated. Of course, thank you for your help senior. Zhang Xingyun agreed without hesitation, because Bangalus also came here in this way. Ha, no trouble, no trouble. Tyrannosaurus, just follow the senior to learn. I will be here these days. Will be obedient, study more, these will be of great benefit to you, and if you learn, won't you be able to help me more? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 520, Hatching of the Wood Gecko. Under Zhang Xingyun's persuasion, the Tyrannosaurus followed the old Tyrannosaurus and flew into the blood pool. In fact, this is still quite beneficial for the Tyrannosaurus. Under the guidance of the elders of the Dragon Clan, they can learn a lot of knowledge of their Dragon Clan. According to what Bangalus said, it would take 2 or 3 days to learn. The Tyrannosaurus passed by, and Zhang Xingyun came to a corner. Looking at the information of the Tyrannosaurus on the system interface, he said in his heart that it was not in vain. Name, Tyrannosaurus, male, attributes, dragon, flying characteristics, intimidation qualification, deep purple strength, qua-seeking mid-stage skills, self-sacrifice attack, flame fang, anger, bite, stare, iron head, hold, dragon breath, mind hammer, destruction deathlight, jet flame, earthquake, repay gratitude, steel wings, landslide, flying. After the evolution, the qualification of the Tyrannosaurus has made a very big breakthrough, breaking through directly from deep blue to deep purple. And the strength is not surprising, from the peak of the late elite to the middle stage of the qua-seeking. The whole body of the Tyrannosaurus has made a qualitative leap, and its strength has also caught up with the first echelon of the team. Deep purple qualifications. Zhang Xingyun thought thoughtfully. Looking at the information on the system interface, he knew that the potential of the Tyrannosaurus was infinite, and it was not even worse than some mythical beasts. Moreover, in terms of qualifications, it is very difficult to improve at the purple level. It has been a long time since the qualifications of the Blastoise were upgraded to the purple level, and a lot of high-level resources have been invested, but it seems that there is no improvement at all. It is conceivable that it is difficult to improve qualifications. It is not as easy to improve as the qualifications of the yellow and green levels. Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged on the ground, and his aura fluctuated, with signs of a breakthrough. Just now, after the evolution of the Tyrannosaurus was completed, a stream of energy attached to his body. Then at this moment, another stream of energy descended on him. Now the energy in his body is very abundant, as if it is about to jump out of his body. Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged on the ground, using the training method, and a little starlight bloomed on his body. Nido Hassan Heibu Nidoking, and the others also came out of the Pokeball, and protected him in the middle to prevent him from being disturbed. The dragon-type Pokémon in the blood pool in the distance was still evolving, flashing one evolutionary light after another. After the Pokémons had completed their evolution, they swam to the side, to avoid interfering with the evolution of other Pokémons. After several Pokémons that jumped over the Dragon Gate evolved, Dragonite, Garchomp, etc. also appeared on the field one after another to pick them up. The Pokémons that could jump over the Dragon Gate would not have bad qualifications. Through the system scan, it was found that they all had at least blue level 1 qualifications, and a few had purple qualifications. Among them, there was a Dragonite with the same qualifications as Dragonite. When it evolved, a Dragonite appeared on the field, and took it away. A wave of air spread out from Zhang Xingyun, and he had completed his breakthrough. The aura on his body was much stronger than before, and he had broken through to the peak level of the late Qua-seeking. It should be Charizard who has also made a breakthrough. Zhang Xingyun guessed. There were 2 energies descending on him. Apart from Tyranitar, there was only Charizard. The other Pokémons were all in the Pokéballs, so it was unlikely to be them. Buzz. When he completed the breakthrough, there was a movement from the side. Zhang Xingyun turned around and saw that it was caused by the Pokémon egg of the Bulbasaur. At this time, the Pokémon egg was flickering and beating. The Pokémon inside was breaking the shell and preparing to come out. It's almost done, Zhang Xingyun said softly, and came to the side of the Bulbasaur and took the Pokémon egg out of the incubator. As soon as it was taken out, a red air wave rose from the blood pool, as if guided, surrounding the Pokémon egg of the Bulbasaur. The Pokémon egg surrounded by this red air wave had a stronger aura, and cracks gradually appeared on the eggshell. Crack after a sound, the cracks gradually expanded, and a small green hand stretched out from the inside through the eggshell. A small head popped out of the Pokémon egg, and the yellow eyes looked directly at Zhang Xingyun, calling out very kindly, Chamo welcome wood gecko. Chamo the wood gecko responded and increased the strength of the shell. Take your time, there's no rush, Zhang Xingyun said in a gentle voice, looking at the broken wood gecko with a smile on his face. Every time I see a Pokémon hatch, I feel a sense of pleasure in my heart. Chamo finally, the wood gecko jumped out of the Pokémon egg, with some sticky egg liquid on his body. Zhang Xingyun took out the washing materials, washed the wood gecko, and then took out the soft gauze to dry his body. Chamo the wood gecko made a sound of enjoyment, enjoying Zhang Xingyun helping it wash. Chamo Nido Heibu. Several Pokémon communicated with each other, and the wood gecko was no stranger to the breath of Nidoking and others. When it was in the Pokémon egg, it often felt the breath of Nidoking and others. After washing up, the wood gecko came to the cracked eggshell and put it into his mouth. Come on, wood gecko, drink this milk, don't choke. Zhang Xingyun took out the mooing milk and handed it to the wood gecko. Chamo the wood gecko drank it directly and soon finished the liter of milk. The little guy has a big appetite. Chamo, after being told this, the wood gecko scratched his head and seemed a little embarrassed. It's okay, it's a blessing to be able to eat. Zhang Xingyun smiled. Chamo the wood gecko stretched out his hands and said a little embarrassedly that he wanted more milk just now and he was still a little hungry. Ha ha ha, no problem, you can have as much as you want. Zhang Xingyun laughed, took out the milk from the space, put it in front of the wood gecko. The wood gecko picked up the milk and drank it. While the wood gecko was drinking milk, Zhang Xingyun also turned on the system to observe its condition. Name, wood gecko, male, attribute, grass characteristics, lush qualification, light blue strength, late novice skills, slap, stare, super absorption, mysterious power, return a favor, dragon fluctuation, lightning flash Dragon fluctuation? Is it the result of absorbing a lot of dragon energy here? Zhang Xingyun was surprised that wood gecko mastered the skill of dragon fluctuation. According to what he knew, wood gecko should not be able to master the move of dragon fluctuation, but wood gecko did, most likely because of the rich dragon energy here. Wood gecko is also an elf with dragon blood, and it seems possible that he mastered the move of dragon fluctuation. Chapter 521 Introduction and Battle. After the wood gecko finished eating and rested for a while, Zhang Xingyun came to it and took out the Pokeball. Wood gecko, are you willing to be my partner? Chamo the wood gecko stretched out its little hand without hesitation, slapped the Pokeball, and turned into a red light and entered it. Dang, the Pokeball made a dang sound, and the wood gecko was successfully captured. Chamo the wood gecko entered the Pokeball for a few seconds, and then came out. In a few days, we will start training. Don't be lazy, Zhang Xingyun said with a smile, and touched the wood gecko's little head. Chamo, the voice of the wood gecko was very firm, indicating that it would not be lazy. The height of the newly born wood gecko is only 0.5 meters. In the next period of time, it should grow taller. The weight is not heavy, about 5 kilograms. Wood gecko, come to meet your predecessors. This is the big brother Nidoking. Chamo the wood gecko stretched out a hand and greeted Nidoking in a friendly manner. Nidoking responded very kindly. This is the second brother, Electabuzz. The third brother, Pidgeot. The fourth sister, Lady Huaji. The fifth brother, Mantis, is currently the strongest among us. The order of introduction is not based on strength, but on the time when they came to the team. Mantis was a guardian Pokémon at the beginning, but it was also the fifth one to come into contact with the protagonist. There are also Dragonite and Charizard, but they are not here for the time being. I will introduce them when they come, Zhang Xingyun said lightly. His Haunter lurked around the Woodbine and patted the Woodbine on the shoulder. Seeing that the Woodbine was very happy, it was no longer the youngest. Okay, you go back to the Pokeball first. Pidgeot, you stay. I'll go see how Charizard is doing, and Dragonite will probably stay here for a few days, Zhang Xingyun said, taking out the Pokeball. Nidoking and the others entered the Pokeball one after another. What's wrong, Wood Gable? Don't you want to come in? Chamo Wood Gable shook his head, somewhat unwilling. Well, then, you stay outside. Pidgeot is troubling you. Finally, Zhang Xingyun rode on Pidgeot's back, with Wood Gable sitting on his shoulder, flew out of this dragon blood pool, and rushed to the place where thousands of dragons danced together at the beginning. Hey, why is the giant Dragonite gone? Is this an introduction? On Pidgeot's back, Zhang Xingyun picked up the telescope and looked over. The giant Dragonite had disappeared, but Nangang Yeo and the others were still there. Hoo after a while, Zhang Xingyun rushed to the scene and landed on the ground. Xingyun, you are here. Nangang Yeo spotted him the first time. Here. Zhang Xingyun smiled and walked forward. The Wood Gable has hatched. It's hatched. Your Dragonite and Tanabata Bluebird have both broken through. It seems that this Dragon Clan festival is really worth coming to. Looking at Tanabata Bluebird and Dragonite still dancing in the sky, their aura is stronger than before. Fortunately, not long after I entered the secret realm, I met Dragonite's tribe. When I arrived at its tribe, Dragonite benefited a lot. Nangang Yeo smiled and asked again. Isn't it that the Kabutosaurus has evolved? It has evolved. It was taken back by its tribe to teach them the moves of their tribe. Zhang Xingyun put away the Pidgeot and sat down at a place. Nangang Yeo also sat down. The two of them admired this rare scene together. Thanks to their invitation, both Tyrannosaurus and Bangulus can get the best evolution. Otherwise, their evolution is still a bit imperfect in general. Recalling the evolution of Bangulus and Tyrannosaurus, Zhang Xingyun said with emotion. That's also because of your excellence, isn't it? I guess so. I will become even better. Zhang Xingyun looked at Nangang Yao and said with a firm look in his eyes. Don't be too tired. No. The two smiled at each other, saying everything without words. Roar! A loud dragon roar came from above, and Long Yun stood on Garcomp's back and fell from the sky. Hey, Xingyun, you're here. Kabutops should have evolved, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Long Yun jumped off Garcomp's back with a smile and walked in front of the two. Yes, the evolution is complete. Zhang Xingyun stood up and replied, looking at Garcomp again. Your Garcomp has broken through to the king level. Congratulations. Feeling the powerful breath of Garcomp coming towards you, you can tell that Garcomp has entered the king level. Hahaha, I'm lucky this year. The giant Dragonite has come out, and it also helped Garcomp break through. After hearing what Zhang Xingyun said, Long Yun laughed and patted Garcomp. Xingyun, why don't we have a fight? Long Yun suggested, his eyes full of fighting spirit. Woo! A figure landed beside Zhang Xingyun. It was Charizard. Charizard, you've benefited a lot too. Woo! Charizard's strength has also improved slightly, reaching the peak of the middle stage of the Quasi King, and it's not far from the late stage of the first level. And the dragon aura on his body is even stronger than before. If he uses dragon type moves, the power should be even stronger. Seeing Charizard like this, Zhang Xingyun suddenly had an idea to let Charizard fight against Garcomp. How about I'll let Charizard fight your Garcomp? Huh. That's not good. It's not that I'll look down on Charizard. It's a Quasi King level, and it's still a little different from my Garcomp. Hearing this, Long Yun looked at Charizard and said, let's spar. It's not a competition. Okay, let's find a suitable place. Seeing this, Long Yun also agreed. Then, they came to an open place. Charizard, don't let the other side underestimate you. Woo! Charizard roared, full of fighting spirit. Then, Super Evolution. Woo! Chapter 522 Charizard vs. Landshark. Wow, your Charizard has also reached the king level. Feeling the breath of Charizard, Long Yun said in surprise. Griffin, let's go. Roar! Long Yun did not take out the keystone for Super Evolution and directly let the original state of Garcomp go to fight Charizard. Charizard, Dragon Claw. Woohoo! Griffin, let's go too. Dragon Claw. Yeah! Sizzle! The two Dragon Claws collided, making a sizzling friction sound, which was very harsh. Woohoo! Roar! The two figures entangled together, and then Charizard retreated. It was obvious that Charizard lost this battle. Woohoo! Charizard opened its mouth and sprayed a jet of flames, heading straight for Garcomp. Boom! The jet of flames hit the earth wall in front of Garcomp, making a booming sound. Bite! Garcomp flew out of the smoke and rushed towards it. Charizard's hands flashed with lightning, and he charged out with a lightning palm and rushed forward. Bang! This time, Charizard was repelled again. Roar! Then a breath of dragon spurted out, and Charizard flapped its wings and flew up, dodging the breath of dragon. Woo! Charizard also responded with a breath of dragon at Garcomp, and the dark green breath of dragon shot straight at it. Bang! Maybe the power of Charizard's breath of dragon was a little weak, or maybe Garcomp was strong. Garcomp crossed his hands in front of him and blocked Charizard's attack. Charizard's firepower is still not up to paragraph. We have to focus on training him when we go back. Zhang Xingyun saw Charizard's performance and wrote down its shortcomings. He would start targeted training when he returned. Charizard and Garcomp were fighting on the field, and the field was filled with roars. The two elves intertwined, sometimes fighting in close combat, and sometimes fighting from a distance. Charizard was at a disadvantage from the beginning, and there was still a certain gap compared to Garcomp, even though Charizard could be said to have entered the first level of the king. In general, Charizard's combat power was still lower than that of the king, and it was still not proficient in the use of the first level of the king. But this was normal, as this was the first time Charizard had entered the first level of the king. Boom boom boom! Charizard and Garcomp started fighting again, and a large cloud of smoke spread on the field. Charizard flew out of the smoke, adjusted its body in midair, stood on the ground, and panted. Garcomp on the opposite side was still full of energy and became more and more courageous as the battle went on. Let's stop here. Zhang Xingyun said, calling a halt to the battle. Long Yun then called a halt to Garchomp, and the battle was over. This is just a competition. If it continues, Charizard will be defeated first. This can be seen, so there is no need to continue. The battle between Charizard and Garchomp also attracted many elves to watch. Among them were elves from the Charizard clan and the Garchomp clan. You are here. Page-Engine flew over on the back of a desert dragonfly, and Zimeng and others followed him. Your Charizard has also reached the level of a king. You are worthy of it. As soon as he landed, Page-Engine felt the breath of Charizard, and gave Zhang Xingyun a thumbs up and praised him. Just barely. Charizard still has a long way to go on the road to becoming a king. That's also very strong. Page-Engine replied, his A-Self Bangulus is still at the quasi-king level. Since everyone is here, how about a Pokémon battle? Longzaro stood up and said with a smile. Okay, my desert dragonfly applies to fight. Zimeng was the first to respond. Previously, in the secret realm of the Tama Desert, she captured a supersonic lava, which happened to evolve into a desert dragonfly here. Okay. Zhang Xingyun thought for a while, and released both metal monsters. The first metal monster captured had reached the late elite stage, while the second metal monster captured was at the early elite stage. Everyone also released their elite level Pokémon and fought a battle. After that, a battle of quasi-king level was launched. Finally, Long Yun still sent out the king to Zhang Xingyun, and a battle of king level was launched between Mantis and Landshark. Both Pokémon have activated Super Evolution, and their strengths are almost the same. After fighting for more than 10 minutes, the two stopped fighting because they were evenly matched. Hahaha, it's great. Long Yun laughed and said loudly. He really likes to fight against other powerful trainers, and he also enjoys the process of fighting, which can make him improve his shortcomings. After this Dragon Clan festival, Long Yun's strength has been greatly enhanced. A deep roar came from a distance. Zhang Xingyun looked up and saw that the source of the sound was the place where the Dragon Clan Travel Festival was held. The Dragon Clan should have chosen a leader. Let's go and take a look. After hearing this, several people became interested and rode their elves to the scene and watched from afar. Garchomp, Dragonite, and Dragonite, three dragon-type quasi-gods, stood at the highest point and roared at the dragon group. The three of them were the leaders of the Dragon Clan elected this time, just like in previous years. The elves below all leaned forward slightly to show their submission. Even the always unruly Gyarados and others leaned forward. This time, the elves of their three species are still here. Looking at this scene, Long Yun said softly. Hearing this, everyone looked at him. This has happened several times, and Garchomp and others have always been the leaders of the Dragon Clan. Long Yun explained that it is not that there are no dragon-type elves of other races, but they are relatively rare. On the field, not far behind the three dragon quasi-gods, there stood several people. Those who could stand so close must have extraordinary identities, as they could watch the Dragon Clan select their leader at close range. Zhang Xingyun looked over. Among those people, two were people he had seen before. One was the old man he met before entering the secret realm, Champion Longchen. One was the Dragon King Longzaro, whom he met by the blood pool. Zhang Xingyun only felt that the others looked familiar, but he could not recognize them for a while, but they were undoubtedly some big guys. Well, it's getting late now, let's go back and rest, Long Yun suggested. The focus of the Dragon Clan celebration was on this day, and the rest were some small programs, and there was nothing to participate in. Everyone had no objection, so they followed Long Yun to the secret realm, the residence built by the Long family, which was a row of villas. At this time, the villa complex was still brightly lit, and every villa that was lit up indicated that someone was staying there. This time, the Long family not only invited a few of them, but also others. Chapter 523, Fire-Breathing Dragon Valley. Zhang Xingyun and his friends sat around a dining table in a villa. Several logistics personnel brought delicious food and placed it on the table for everyone to eat. Come on, eat. Long Yun called out and took the lead. Zhang Xingyun and his friends also started eating the food on the table. The food on the table was almost the same as outside, but this was in the secret realm, which showed that the logistics supply here was extremely strong. Several people ate delicious food, talked and laughed, and the atmosphere was very warm. On the side, their elves were also eating, being taken care of by a special person. Among the elves, Charizard seemed a little depressed, and ate the food in front of him without interest. Zhang Xingyun saw this scene and thought about finding time to enlighten him. It was normal for this battle to fail. Landshark had the combat power of the first level of the king. For some time, the combat method and energy control of the first level of the king were not comparable to Charizard, who was experiencing the first level of the king for the first time. Zhang Xingyun's original intention was to let Charizard communicate more with powerful Pokémons. Without Charizard, it was like this. I don't know if it was a blow to it. After dinner, everyone came to the hall to chat. After sitting for a while, Zhang Xingyun walked out the door, came to the outside of the villa, picked up Charizard's Pokéball, and threw it out. Woo Charizard, why do I see that you are not in a good mood tonight? Is it because of the battle with Garchomp during the day? Woo Charizard nodded, and shook his head. Zhang Xingyun naturally understood what it meant. There is no rush for this. Today I mainly want you to experience the feeling of fighting with the first level king. This is why I didn't use my superpowers to assist you. Garchomp is a powerful Pokémon. You saw it during the day. When it burst out with all its strength, it fought on equal terms with the giant mantis. Woo, so this defeat is nothing. Adjust your mentality. Next, I will train you accordingly. After some time, you will be able to fully possess the combat power of the first level king. Zhang Xingyun comforted. Woo-ah Charizard nodded, and then said something to him. You said that several Charizards invited you to practice in Charizard Valley? Woo-ah Charizard nodded and asked for his opinion. During the day, when Charizard was flying among the dragons, it encountered several powerful Charizards and invited it. Of course. Zhang Xingyun agreed. He naturally supported Charizard's desire to become stronger. Woo-ah, I'll go with you tomorrow. Woo-ah Zhang Xingyun smiled, put Charizard back into the Pokéball, and walked in. In the hall, everyone was still chatting. Let me ask, when are we leaving here? After entering the house, Zhang Xingyun asked. What's wrong, Xingyun? Do you have something to do? Hearing this, Longyun asked back. No, it's just that my Dragonite was taken for training, and Charizard said it was going to a Charizard Valley to practice for a while. I don't know how many days it will take, so I came to ask. Zhang Xingyun explained, looking at Longyun and the others. Is that so? It's okay. You can wait until they come back. If you want, you can live here. Longyun joked. There's no need to live here. We just need to stay here for a few more days. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Then I'll contact Teacher Pei. We can just go back to the Magic City by ourselves and have some fun here in the next few days. Long Zhao said, looking at everyone and asking for their opinions. Okay. Nangang Yeo and the others had no objections and expressed their support. Okay, then I'll contact Teacher Pei. Okay. After chatting for a while, everyone returned to their assigned rooms. Chamo the wood gecko was relatively small, so Zhang Xingyun left it outside. The wood gecko walked to a small nest in the room, covered with a soft quilt. This nest should be specially designed for some small elves. The size is just right for the wood gecko to sleep on. Wood gecko, go to bed quickly. You didn't sleep much today. Chamo the wood gecko responded and lay down on the nest to sleep. It must be very tired. Since it was hatched, it has not slept much and has been staying outside. Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged on the bed, with stars around his body, and began to practice. There was no talk all night, and time came quickly to the next morning. Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes on time, and went to the washroom to wash up. After finishing, he took the elves to the training ground outside the villa for training. Hey boo nado. After training for a while, Longyun came to the field, said hello, and started training on the field next to it. Really hard work. To have the current strength, it is also what they deserve. At a window of the villa, Long Zhao and several girls looked at the two people training on the field. From this angle, the entire training ground was just in sight. Let's go train too. We can't fall too far behind them. Nangang Yeo said. Oh, what's the point of training? Just treat these few days as a vacation and relax yourself. Zimeng held Nangang Yeo and said with a smile. Meng Meng, you are always like this. You need to be more diligent, and your strength will be improved quickly. Oh, it's just these few days. It won't be a problem. It's a problem. I'm going to train. Do you want to come with Zhao? Okay. Oh, wait for me. Watching the two leave, Meng Meng followed them. After breakfast, Zhang Xingyun rode on the back of the Charizard and came to the Charizard Valley. Looking from the back of the Charizard, there were rows of volcanoes connected together, and some of them were still emitting black smoke. Wu then land down. The Charizard flew in and landed on an open space. Zhang Xingyun looked up and saw that there were many fire-breathing dragons here. All of them were practicing hard. He even saw several people wearing short clothes practicing here together. Several fire-breathing dragons of similar size flew over and landed in front of Zhang Xingyun. The meaning of the words was to welcome the arrival of the fire-breathing dragons. Charizard, you should practice well here. I will come to see you every day. Go ahead. Zhang Xingyun patted the fire-breathing dragon on the shoulder and said. After the fire-breathing dragon responded a few times, it flew towards the inside of the volcano. Charizard Valley. It looks a bit like it. Zhang Xingyun looked at the surrounding scenery and said lightly. This scene is a bit like what he remembered. Chapter 524 Play. Zhang Xingyun remembered that in the anime he had watched in his previous life, he also cultivated a Charizard and came to a place called Charizard Valley to practice and study for a period of time. After practicing, the strength of Charizard also improved a lot. I wonder how much progress this Charizard can make. There are quite a few people who come here to practice. Meng Meng behind him said after looking around. Of course, it's not just the celebrations that bring people here. Many trainers who cultivate dragon-type Pokémon will also request to come here to practice. Hearing this, Long Yan explained that these people have no problems with their backgrounds and can only practice here after approval. No wonder. There is a hot spring behind here. You can also go and soak in it later. After a while, Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao came to the place where the Tyrannosaurus evolved yesterday. As soon as they landed, an excited dragon roar came from inside. A figure flew quickly and landed in front of the two. It was Tyrannosaurus. Tyrannosaurus, I came to see you. How are you studying? Zhang Xingyun smiled and touched the head of Tyrannosaurus and said. Q-ho, okay, you have to learn more and remember more. Q-ho. After teasing for a while, the Dragonite flapped its wings and flew into the blood pool. The baby dragon has also evolved into a Dragonite. Time flies so fast. Nangang Yao looked at the Dragonite in the distance and said with some emotion. Yes, time flies a little fast. Zhang Xingyun responded and then looked at the blood pool here and found that the energy concentration in the blood pool was several levels lower than yesterday. It should be because the Dragon Clan festival has passed. Let's go somewhere else. Okay. The two came outside and sat on the back of Dragonite together, soaring into the sky and looking down at the magnificent scenery in the secret realm. The weather conditions in the secret realm are not much different from those in the outside world, and there are also day and night. At this moment, the sky is blue and white, and the sky is clear. On a lush grassland below, a group of elves are running, raising clouds of dust. There were also dragon roars, and along with the sounds of battles, several dragon-type Pokémon were fighting. Most dragon-type Pokémon are brave fighters, with warlike genes flowing in their blood, and they often fight, which is also the characteristic of their dragon type. The scenery here is beautiful, the air is fresh, and the free energy factors are particularly active. It is a rare-blessed land. Looking at the scenery below, Zhang Xingyun sighed. Well, after all, it is the foundation of Zhao's family. If it were 70 or 80 years ago, we would not be able to come here. Really? That's right, this Dragon Valley was the private land of the Long family in the past. It was also obtained by their own strength when the elf era came. Even the country can't say anything. Nangang Yao explained that in the next few decades after the elves came, it was also the time when the aristocratic families in China developed the fastest. They mastered a lot of resources and widened the gap between them and ordinary trainers. It also indirectly promoted the growth of some organizations such as Team Rocket. Then I should thank the country. Well, haven't you noticed that in the past decade or so, the resources of Pokémon have gradually shifted? For example, your Dragonite was sent from Dragon Valley. That's right. In fact, the existence of them is not all bad. Their contribution to society is obvious to all. We should look at them with a fair eye. Nangang Yeo said, looking directly at Zhang Xingyun. I know, I'm not stupid, and I can see through it. Zhang Xingyun smiled and held her delicate hand. He also understood the deep meaning of what she said. It's also a class issue. During his career as a trainer, Zhang Xingyun met some children from aristocratic families. Most of them were well educated, outstanding in ability and kind in dealing with people. But there were also some people who relied on their own capital to bully and look down on others. When he served as an investigator in Changning and Nanhei, he also dealt with many such things and experienced it personally. However, in recent years, with the strengthening of national governments, some government's supervision and management have made the allocation of resources more reasonable, which has alleviated this problem to a large extent. The problem of contradiction will exist in any era. The two soared in the sky, visiting one place after another. The Duneland of desert dragonflies, the lake of Gyarados, the waterfall of Dragonite, the valley of Charizard. Occasionally they stopped and took out their cameras to take a few photos as a souvenir. After playing in most of the secret realm, it was already evening, and the two returned to the villa complex. You are grilling. As soon as they landed, they smelled the aroma of barbecue. Yes, a new batch of ingredients came today, so I was thinking about having a barbecue. Long Yun, who was holding a brush, replied, and then brushed the barbecue in front of him. The barbecue sizzled, sprinkled with the prepared ingredients, and emitted bursts of smoke. Barbecue, I haven't eaten it for a while. Zhang Xingyun also became interested, came to the barbecue, and grilled it. Then I'll help. Nangang Yeo stepped forward, and worked with Zimeng and the others. The electric beasts also came out of the Pokeballs, carrying a few grills to the other side, and also fiddling with the barbecue. Not only Zhang Xingyun and the others were barbecuing, but the Pokémon beside them were also barbecuing, and their skills were not bad, with the aroma everywhere. Several Pokémons who were waiting to barbecue were busy, one doing the work of 3 people, but they still seemed to be a little late. The atmosphere was very lively, eating, drinking, talking, and laughing. It was so pleasant. Cheers, barbecue, and beer are a perfect match, but unfortunately when I was at home, my parents wouldn't let me eat them, saying that they were unhealthy and junk food, and wouldn't let me eat them. I laughed. With my physical fitness, let alone junk food, even real garbage might not harm me. Long Yun said loudly, and then drank the beer in his hand. The people present were all extraordinary people, and they couldn't stop talking about the topic once they started. Since we are here, we must eat and have fun. Long Yun shouted, and invited everyone to eat and drink again. They ate for a long time before they finished, and went back to their rooms to rest. After returning to their rooms, Zhang Xingyun did not practice, but fell asleep. In the next few days, Zhang Xingyun went to the Charizard Valley, and visited the Tyrannosaurus every day. After visiting, he played in the secret realm. Occasionally, he was in the mood to fight with the elves in the secret realm. His life was very comfortable and happy. Chapter 525, The Return of the Two Dragons. One day, Zhang Xingyun stood on the back of the Tyrannosaurus, heading towards the Charizard Valley. There were no elves blocking the way along the way. After sensing the breath of the Tyrannosaurus, the elves along the way took the initiative to give way and let the Tyrannosaurus fly over. Tyrannosaurus is not bad. Now you can fly freely in the sky. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile on the back of the Tyrannosaurus, with the wood gecko on his shoulder. Good. You have worked hard these days, I know that. The breath of the Tyrannosaurus has stabilized, not as frivolous as before, and the dragon's might on his body is more intense. If it faces some timid elves, it can scare them to tremble. In terms of fighting against the enemy, there are also some advantages, and the momentum will not lose. Soon, the Tyrannosaurus landed in front of the Charizard Valley. Bang! Zhang Xingyun turned over and walked in with the Tyrannosaurus and the wood gecko. Inside, Long Yun and Page Engine sat aside, practicing quietly. The hot environment here is also beneficial to practice. Chamo as soon as he entered, waves of heat hit him. The wood guard on his shoulder called out. As a grass type Pokemon, it didn't like this environment, so it entered the Pokeball. Xingyun is here. Long Yun stood up and greeted him. Here, it's been 5 days. I wonder how Charizard's practice is going. Zhang Xingyun looked into the smoke and asked with concern. There's no rush. Let's go. Call Chenjin and let's go to the hot springs to relax. Chenjin. Hey. Let's go to the hot springs. Okay. After a while, the three of them soaked in a hot spring. It's comfortable. It's really comfortable to come to the hot springs after practicing. Soaking in the hot spring, Long Yun said as if enjoying it. Where are they? Why can't I see them? Zhang Xingyun asked. They should have gone out to play. They don't want to stay in this place. According to Zimengmeng, they don't want to get together in a pile of stinky sweat. Pei Chenjin replied with a smile. Maybe. Zhang Xingyun didn't say anything and took a hot spring bath, letting the hot spring moisturize his body and relieve his physical fatigue. It's a pity that Yachin and the others didn't come. They should be in the Magic City at this time. I think so. So many days have passed and they have returned to school. Zhang Xingyun said that during these 5 days, he not only traveled around, but also Nidoking and the others made some progress. After several evenly matched battles, Nidoking also made a breakthrough, and his strength reached the peak of the late Quasi King, just like the giant claw mantis. Now with their qualifications and the resources prepared by Zhang Xingyun for them, it is only a matter of time before they break through to the king. What level has your Tyrannosaurus reached? Is it also the combat power of the first level of the king? Long Yun thought of Tyrannosaurus and asked. No, it's just the peak of the late Quasi King, and there's still a long way to go before it reaches the king. Before that, Zhang Xingyun also took out the keystone and made a super evolution with Tyrannosaurus and then attached the spirit to increase it. Super Tyrannosaurus has reached the peak of the late Quasi King and has not yet broken through to the king. Maybe the bond between him and Tyrannosaurus is weaker than that of Charizard. In short, I have gained a lot from coming here this time. Long Yun, thank you. Nothing. It's good to have a harvest. Long Yun said rather heroically. Awang in the Charizard Valley, Zhang Xingyun's Charizard was fighting with a strong Charizard. At this time, the two were on a battlefield surrounded by rolling magma, fighting fiercely. The Charizard made a fierce move, grabbed the arm of the opposite Charizard, swung it violently, and threw it to the side, then spread its wings, and blasted it with a cannon punch, hitting the target, and knocking the opponent to the ground, without any movement. Woo-ah, when the Charizard defeated the opponent, the surrounding Charizards cheered. Woo-ah, the Charizard was also cheering. This was the third Charizard it had defeated, and all of them were stronger and stronger than it. Woo-ah, several older Charizards flew to the side of the Charizard and praised it. Woo-ah, the Charizard seemed a little embarrassed, and then communicated with several Charizards. Woo-ah, Zhang Xingyun had just finished taking a hot spring bath, and was stretching his body in an open space outside the Charizard Valley. Crackle after finishing the work, there was a crackle sound on his body. Hey Xingyun, where did you get this set of movements? I feel a lot more relaxed after doing it. Long Yun was surprised. He followed Zhang Xingyun's teaching, and performed it several times. He felt very comfortable. It was an unexpected gain, but don't worry, this is fine. Zhang Xingyun replied. Oh, this set of movements is not very handsome. Is there any kind of handsome and effective one? Yes, it's Teikai. Zhang Xingyun smiled. This set of movements is a set of ancient martial arts training exercises that he exchanged with energy value in the system. It can improve the quality of the body, especially when combined with the energy in the body to exercise the body. The effect is better. Although Long Yun is not a person with abilities, he has a lot of energy fed back by the spirits. They are back. Pei Chenjin, who was standing aside, looked at the distance and said softly. Zhang Xingyun looked up and saw Nangang Yeo and others riding on the spirits in the distance, flying towards them, and soon came to the three of them. What are you three doing in white training suits? Are you practicing Taika or Wing Chun? As soon as she landed, Zimengmeng looked at Zhang Xingyun and the other two, with a smile on her face. Nangang Yeo and the other two behind her also looked at the three curiously. Nothing. As soon as the voice fell, a roar was heard, and the Charizard flew straight towards this side from a distance. The blue flame burning on its tail showed that it was Zhang Xingyun's Charizard. Woohaha, you're back. Your strength has improved a bit. Not bad. Zhang Xingyun felt the breath of the Charizard, looked at the muscle texture of its body, and patted the Charizard's shoulder with satisfaction. Woo, the Charizard gestured a few times, yelling, talking about what happened in the past few days, sharing it with him one by one. Zhang Xingyun smiled, nodded in response from time to time, and waited for the Charizard to finish. My Dragonite and Tanabata Bluebird also made a lot of money this time. Looking at the interaction between the man and the elf, Nangang Yeo said, "Me too." Long Zhao smiled. "Do you have anything else to do? If not, let's go back to the Magic City tomorrow." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.